The middle-aged steward Wang Zhen sprang into action the moment he received the order. He made several hurried phone calls. When he finally hung up, his face was ashen. He moved quickly into the courtyard. Young Master Zhao Tianyu lounged on the veranda, idly teasing the thrush in its cage. Without looking up, he asked, "Well, did Qinghai finally give in?" "Young Master, this subordinate has failed you." Sweat beaded on Wang Zhen's forehead. His voice trembled with a mixture of fury and disbelief. "The people from Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company are like stones in a latrine, stinking and stubborn. Our men went to talk, and Xinjiang Capital offered a full takeover with a 30% premium. They rejected it flat out without a second thought." The bird in Zhao Tianyu's hand paused. A shadow crossed his handsome features. "Not enough?" he murmured. "Fine, keep raising it. 40%. "We raised it," Wang Zhen shot back. "They still refused. They said the Salt Lake is a goose that lays golden eggs and they'll never sell, no matter the price." 5 billion. Zhao's voice went ice cold, a killing edge slipping into it. "Tell them this is Xinjiang Capital's final offer. Don't be ungrateful." Wang Zhen hurried away to make more calls. When he returned, his face was even grimmer. "Young Master, they didn't even look at the offer. Their security escorted our people off the property." With a violent motion, Zhao smashed the birdseed canister to the stone floor. Seeds scattered everywhere. The thrush fluttered and squawked in fright. Zhao's expression darkened, but a cruel smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Perfect." He sounded almost pleased. "They don't know what's good for them." "Wang Zhen, then let them taste how bitter the punishment wine is. Activate Plan B, now." The next day, the internet blew up. A sensational video, thick with insinuation and dramatic editing, spread across every platform like wildfire. Its headline screamed, "Shocking inside story. The salt you eat might be athlete's foot salt." Real footage from Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company tourist area. The footage was designed to shock. Beneath a clear blue sky, the camera lingered on the blinding white salt flats and a cluster of tourists slipping off their shoes to wade in shallow salt ponds. They laughed and splashed while empty tissues and snack wrappers lay nearby. The camera work zoomed in on bare feet, close-ups showing skin peeling, flakes falling off, accompanied by inflammatory voiceover and ominous music. Shocking! Is this the Qinghai Salt Lake, praised as pure and pristine? Is this the source of the table salt we eat every day? Imagine the sweat, athlete's foot, or skin diseases. Do you still dare to use this salt? Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company has sold out its conscience for tourism revenue. Despite how absurd it was, anyone with a basic understanding of modern salt production knew that tourist areas were separated from core manufacturing zones and that finished salt is processed and purified multiple times. The story hit the public nerve of food safety. Under the concerted push of trolls and an audience primed for outrage, the reaction was immediate and explosive. "Gross! I just bought their salt. I'm flushing it down the toilet." "This footage is disgusting. Investigate. Shut them down. Shameless company. Boycott them." What is the National Salt Industry Bureau doing? Why hasn't this been shut down yet? At Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company, explain yourself, or we'll sue. Public opinion crashed like an avalanche. Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company's official website, Weibo, and hotline were buried under complaints. Supermarkets pulled their products from shelves. Distributors demanded returns. Orders evaporated overnight. The company convened an emergency high-level meeting. An atmosphere like doom settled over the room. On the big screen, public opinion monitors screamed red and the sales chart plummeted. "Someone's targeting us," the vice president of sales barked, his voice raw. He slammed his fist on the table. "The timing is too perfect, right after we refused Xinjiang and Yangshu Capital. Remember that man from Xinjiang? After we turned him down his eyes, he looked like he wanted to eat us alive. It has to be them." "What good is guessing now?" the production director said, pale. "Our reputation's ruined. Our salt is being called athlete's foot salt. Distributors want to terminate contracts. Banks are asking about risk. If this keeps up, our cash flow will be gone in less than a week. The company, it's finished." "Sue them for spreading rumors and defamation," the legal department head demanded. "Call the police." "Sue?" The PR director forced a bitter smile. "The footage was shot in our tourist experience pool, And yes, it's been maliciously edited and interpreted, but proving intent and winning a suit takes time. By the time we win, we'll be dead. The court of public opinion has already sentenced us." Desperation hung heavy over the room. Everyone's eyes turned to the chairman, Wang Hongtao, who had sat silent at the head of the table. A retired soldier who had worked his way up from the salt fields, he sat with knuckles white and bloodshot eyes burning with a mixture of shock and anger, and beneath it all, a fierce resolve. "Sell," someone suggested weakly. Wang Hongtao looked up. His voice, when it came, was hoarse but ironclad, as if cut from metal and stone. "We can sell," he said abruptly, "but not to those despicable, shameless bastards who stabbed us in the back." He rose to his feet, his gaze sweeping the room like a torch. His tone turned almost tragic in its bluntness. "They want to use dirty tricks to force us to give up? Dream on. I'd rather fight for my pride than sell out for a few coins. They want to drown us in filth so they can pick over our corpse at bargain prices? I refuse." He pointed at the name Yangshu Capital on the projection screen. Yangshu behaved like gentlemen. They came in daylight and did business properly. Huchan called me 10 times, polite and prepared, even asking what tea an old man like me prefers. I refused, but I respected their way of doing business. If we must sell, we sell to them. At least they have a bottom line, some humanity. He drew a deep breath, and each word landed like a verdict. "As for that damn Xinjiang capital, I'd rather let the company go bankrupt and donate Qinghai Salt Lake to the state than sell them a single grain of salt. Notify everyone. Contact Hu Qian at Yangshu Capital immediately. Tell her that as long as the price isn't outrageous, we'll sell, and do it fast. Sign the contract before they even know what's happening. I want those bastards who played dirty to lose everything. Leave them with nothing." Xing City, Yangshu Capital headquarters. Hu Qian stared at the documents on her monitor, tension knotting her shoulders. Lin Yang's order to spare no effort sat heavy on her chest. She had tried every conventional and unconventional approach she could think of. She had investigated Wang Hongtao thoroughly. A retired soldier, blunt and resolute, he prized reputation and honor. He was deeply family-oriented and had a daughter studying at a university in Xing City. Hu Qian even tried to reach him through the alumni association at the school, but it was like throwing a stone into the sea. She analyzed the backgrounds, tastes, and social circles of all the senior executives, looking for a crack, but the other side's top management was immovable. She offered an almost astronomical acquisition package and generous follow-up cooperation terms, but they wouldn't even come to the table. She even pulled in contacts in Qinghai to mediate. The feedback was the same. Wang Hongtao was stubborn. He believed Qinghai Salt Lake was a resource too valuable to be handed over, not just for salt production, but for tourism as well. Only a fool would sell it. "Wang Hongtao, he's a tough nut to crack," the report said. Hu Qian rubbed her temples, more frustrated than ever. She began studying ways to exert policy pressure or find other leverage for gentle persuasion, but those approaches would take time and carried high risk, the opposite of Lin Yang's insistence on efficiency. Then her assistant came in pale-faced, nearly bursting. "Miss Hu, look at the news. Something's happened at Qinghai Salt Lake. Athlete's foot salt. The whole internet is tearing them apart." Hu Qian's heart skipped. She clicked through trending reports and videos. The scandal images were inflammatory, the public outrage explosive. Professional instinct kicked in. In an instant, she saw Wang Zhen's sullen face, Xing Capital's brutal tactics, and Wang Hongtao's stubborn profile. A bold, almost reckless idea snapped into place. Opportunity. She stood up, eyes bright. The defeat she'd felt evaporated, replaced by the thrill of a hunter who had just found a flaw. "Xiao Liu, now contact Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company at the highest level. Express Yangshu Capital's deep concern and reiterate our sincerity in the acquisition. Show respect for Chairman Wang and all the employees. Emphasize that we trust the quality of their products and are ready to lend a hand in this crisis. The wording must be sincere. Our posture must be humble. Do not mention lowering the price. Restate that our previous reasonable offer still stands and hint at future cooperation benefits." Xiao Liu hesitated. "Miss Hu, they've just been crushed by a scandal. Their brand has taken a hit. Isn't this the time to push the price down? Are we really going to waive goodwill and keep the original offer?" Execute the order, Huqian said, voice absolute. Now, go. Tell them I, Huqian, am online 24 hours a day and available anytime. She thought sharply to herself. Wang Hongtao, with your temperament, after being ambushed by Xinjing, will you sell to your enemy? No. You'll want a clean buyer, even at a slightly lower price, just to spite them. Yangshu Capital, which has always been decent and now offers help, is your best choice. For days, she monitored the fallout and kept up warm, friendly contact. The other side wavered. A few days later, as she studied a map of Qinghai and the surrounding infrastructure, the office line rang. The caller ID read, Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company. Huqian inhaled, calmed herself, and answered, This is Huqian of Yangshu Capital. On the other end, Wang Hongtao's voice came through hoarse but resolute without preamble. Miss Hu, I'm Wang Hongtao. Let's not waste time. Qinghai Salt Lake Development Company will sell to your Yangshu Capital. The price will be your last official offer. One condition, act fast. Complete everything quickly. I want the contract effective before those bastards at Xinjing can react. Even prepared, Huqian was stunned. The offer, accepted outright at their previous high bid, was far more than she had dared hope. She felt a dizzy surge of relief and triumph. Chairman Wang. Her voice betrayed doubt and disbelief. Miss Hu. Wang's tone rose, steel underlining it. I'm a man of my word. If I say I'll sell, I sell. I've seen what you did, your attitude after this incident. You're 10,000 times better than the bastards who only play dirty. Now I ask one thing. Can Yangshu act immediately? Do you dare take this challenge? She snapped out of it. Ecstasy and accomplishment flooded her. It worked. It really worked. Yes, Chairman Wang, Yangshu Capital will take it. Thank you for your trust. Our most professional team will be airborne within 2 hours with all necessary documents. We'll open a green channel to sign core terms and make the first payment within 72 hours. Prepare your team for cooperation. Yangshu will fight this battle with you, and we will win. Good. Excellent. I'll be waiting, Wang said, and hung up with a long, relieved sigh. Huqian set the receiver down, her hand trembling. She looked out over Xing City and let out a quiet laugh of absurd triumph. Lin Yang, this is winning while lying down. Xinjing Capital is the best ally imaginable. She grabbed the phone and barked orders with electric excitement. Attention, everyone. Thunderbolt action. Target Qinghai. Now. Move. Beijing, the courtyard house. 3 days later, Wang Zhen burst in like a man crawling home, pale and shaking, voice breaking with sobs and frantic fear. Young master, it's over. Something big has happened. Qinghai Salt Lake, they sold the company, sold it to Yangshu Capital. The contract is signed. The money's already been received. What? Zhao Tianyu felt as if struck by lightning. He sprang up from the priceless Huanghuali armchair so hard he knocked over a small Zitan table. A set of Northern Songru ware tea broke into shards on the floor. He grabbed Wang Zhen by the collar, eyes bloodshot, his face distorted by fury and disbelief, his voice tearing into the air. What did you say? Sold to whom? Say it again. When did this happen? Yangshu Capital. Lin Yang's company, Wang Zhen blubbered, tears and snot streaking his face. Just now, our people confirmed it. Huqian personally led a team, chartered a flight, and completed the core procedures in under 72 hours. That old geezer, Wang Hongtao, he made a statement. He said he'd rather sell to Yangsu than give a single grain of salt to Xinjing. He said we're despicable and only play dirty tricks. He just wants to humiliate us. Wang Zhen screamed the last part as if throwing himself at the world. Zhao Tianyu let out a roar of monstrous hatred, humiliation, and rage. Every painstaking, poisonous plan, all the money he'd thrown at trolls, promotions, bribed channels, had been for nothing. He had intended to corner his prey and swoop in as savior to buy the asset cheap. Instead, his prey had handed it to his rival and accepted nearly the original price at lightning speed. All his efforts had been wasted. He'd not only failed to gain a thing, he'd paved the way for Lin Yang to seize a core asset with minimal cost. It felt like his face had been shoved into the mud and scrubbed clean, a humiliating joke. With a thunderous slam, Zhao Tianyu smashed his fist against the granite pillar that supported the corridor. Pain and fury blended as he howled into the empty air. Lin Yang, it's always you! You take Sinuo Pharmaceutical from me and ruin my finances, and now you dress the bride for me and reap the rewards. His eyes were bloodshot, veins standing out. He panted like a feral beast, roaring at the ceiling. "Just wait!" Yangshu Capital Headquarters. Lin Yang, dressed in simple casual clothes, drove himself to the company building. After some time away, he noticed that Yangshu Capital now occupied the floor their offices sat on and several floors beneath. The reception area had been doubled in size, and the decor was sharper and more impressive, an energetic, confident look. Since founding the company, Lin Yang had given Hu Qian full authority to run it. She was not only capable, but unfailingly loyal, so he felt comfortable leaving day-to-day management in her hands. Still, she reported major developments to him periodically. The reason he'd been asked to come in today was the mid-year review. The first half of the year had ended, and it would look odd for the behind-the-scenes boss not to attend. He took the elevator to the top floor, scanned the corridor, and walked straight for the chairman's office area. New employees watched him curiously. Who was this young man with an extraordinary air, dressed casually, striding into the heart of the company without checking in at the front desk? "Excuse me, sir, who are you looking for? Do you have an appointment?" a young receptionist asked, polite but professional. Before Lin Yang could answer, Hu Qian's office door opened. She stepped out in a sharp suit, face bright with a warm, respectful smile, and even gave a small bow. "Mr. Lin, why didn't you tell me you were coming? I would have come down to meet you." She turned to the receptionist. "Xiao Zhang, this is Mr. Lin, the company's founder and actual controller." "Ah, Mr. Lin, I'm so sorry." The front desk woman went red and bowed awkwardly, shocked. The employees clustered nearby whispered among themselves, astonished. "Is that the legendary behind-the-scenes boss? So young." Director Hu came out herself to greet him. "He's so low-key, you'd never guess. He's even better looking than I imagined." Lin Yang smiled calmly. "It's fine. You were diligent and responsible." Led by Hu Qian, he walked toward the largest conference room. As they passed, staff stopped their work to watch. The murmurs of new and old employees blended into a low hum. In the conference room, Yangsu Capital's core executives and department heads were already seated. When Hu Qian personally pulled out the chair at the head of the table and invited Lin Yang to sit, a collective intake of breath swept the room. Many newly promoted executives were seeing the mysterious boss for the first time. Their faces registered stunned curiosity. The meeting began. Hu Qian launched into a meticulously prepared PPT, her voice steady and full of pride. "Colleagues, under Mr. Lin's strategic guidance, Yangshu Capital achieved extraordinary results in the first half of the year, far surpassing expectations." Numbers rolled across the screen like a triumphant score. Total revenue, 18.27 billion, Daxia coins. Net profit, 11.85 billion, Daxia coins. Main sources of profit, Foodie Battery Equity Investment Income, accounts for 75%, approximately 8.8 billion. Since our strategic investment and the acceleration of their solid-state battery R&D, Foodie Battery's stock price has surged over 40 times from its acquisition low point in just a few months. We currently hold 44.3% of Foodie Battery's shares. Based on the current market value of 20 billion, this equity stake alone is worth about 8.86 billion. With mass production of solid-state batteries approaching, market expectations place Foodie Battery's future value well above 100 billion, or even a trillion, giving it virtually limitless potential. Acquisition and resale income from premium school district housing, abandoned gas stations, and other projects accounts for 12%, approximately 1.422 billion. Based on Mr. Lin's precise intelligence, we strategically bought core school district properties before policy announcements, taking advantage of the market timing to buy low and sell high. High-end villa bargain hunt project income accounts for 8%, approximately 948 million. Again, guided by Mr. Lin's intelligence, we acquired top luxury homes at low prices, sellers with broken capital chains, and quickly resold them for profit. Binjiang No. 9 Unfinished Building Project, acquired at a low price and held under Mr. Lin's direction because significant municipal planning benefits will come at the right time. Recently, the government announced plans for a new riverside financial center in that area, and the project's valuation has already multiplied. The potential returns are huge, not yet included in current profit figures. Other early investments accounts for 5%, approximately 592 million. In summary, Huchan said, excitement breaking through her professional tone, as of now, the net assets controlled by Yangshu Capital have definitively exceeded 10 billion Daxia coins. This excludes Foodie Battery's enormous future appreciation, the Binjiang number 9 upside, and long-term strategic benefits from the Chungwang Farm and Qinghai Salt Lake projects. A stunned silence fell over the room so sharp you could hear a pin drop. They had known the company was profitable, but seeing the figures and the boss's influence laid out made heads spin. Over 10 billion in net assets in just a few months. Almost unbelievable. One new investment manager couldn't help it. He pulled out his phone with trembling fingers, scrolling through the Forbes Sing City Rich list and whispering to the person beside him. Chen Zhengguo, the city's richest on the list, only has 10.8 billion. Our Mr. Lin, he's basically the richest man in Xing City, and his name isn't even on that list. A senior director near them lowered his voice, eyes shining with admiration. The list only counts owners of public companies and information that's available. Mr. Lin is a hidden giant. With his terrifyingly precise investment vision and intelligence capabilities, he could outgrow Xing City, Hunan, the whole nation, maybe even the world. Following Mr. Lin, Yangshu Capital will become a world-class investment powerhouse. Everyone here today will be the company's founding heroes. His words hit the room like a stone dropped into still water, sending powerful ripples through the executives. They looked at Lin Yang, who sat composed at the head of the table as if hearing an ordinary report, and felt something like fire ignite in their chests. Pride, resolve, and the intoxicating sense of belonging to something destined to become enormous. Hu Qian continued her report, a teasing edge of sarcasm in her voice. As for the Qinghai Salt Lake project, ownership has now been fully transferred to Yangshu Capital. The acquisition was rather dramatic. She gave a brief recounting of how Xinjiang Capital had secretly stirred up trouble, fabricating the Athlete's Foot Salt scandal to force Qingyang Group into a lowball sale. Their plan backfired when the tough-as-nails chairman Wang Hongtao was enraged instead of cowed. He sold the company to Yangshu at its original valuation, and even faster than expected. Lin Yang listened with a knowing smile. He had received threatening calls during the affair and had suspected someone was obstructing them, but he'd never imagined the opponent would stoop so low, nor that the result would be so spectacular. His intelligence system was powerful, but those unexpected turns in real life and the enemy's own self-inflicted blows amused him. Chairman Wang is a man of real integrity, he said. This time, Xinjiang shot itself in the foot and did us a favor, Lin Yang added lightly. Miss Hu, you handled things very well. Your timing was perfect. Hu Qian accepted the praise modestly. Thank you, Mr. Lin. It was mainly your intelligence and strategic direction that pointed the way. I just executed the plan. Inwardly, she was thrilled. Betting on Wang Hongtao's reaction had been a gamble that paid off, and, she felt, marked the high point of her career so far. Lin Yang tapped his fingers on the table, his expression deepening, and then he dropped a bombshell. The significance of the Salt Lake project goes far beyond salt production and tourism, he said. According to the information I have and our internal R&D, a trace element in the brine of Qinghai Salt Lake is the key catalyst for activating the revolutionary anti-cancer protein drug being developed by Sinuo Pharmaceutical. This element is extremely difficult to synthesize artificially, and its extraction and purification are complex. The salt lake is the only irreplaceable natural source. The conference room fell silent. The news hit everyone like a shock. Anti-cancer protein. That was medicine's holy grail. Sinuo was already a heavyweight. If the drug succeeded, its prospects would be astronomical. And Yangshu Capital now controlled the core raw material. Lin Yang spoke calmly but with authority. Ownership is ours. That means once the anti-cancer protein is launched successfully, we won't just hold the vast economic value of the Salt Lake itself. We will, by virtue of this unique resource, demand and secure a massive and stable share of a drug that could change the world. Potentially worth hundreds of billions, even trillions. The long-term returns could rival or exceed the future of Foodie Battery. So even if Sinuo hates us now over the Chungwang Farm incident, they'll soon be begging to cooperate. When that happens, don't be polite. Yes, Mr. Lin, the executives chorused. A surge of excitement and pride swept through the room. They already imagined Yangshu, guided by Lin Yang's uncanny intelligence and strategy, holding two industry-shaping trump cards, a dragon with two wings rising to dominate the capital markets. They were the founding heroes aboard an invincible ship. The future seemed limitless. The meeting ended on a high note. Lin Yang offered a few encouraging words, stood and left. Hu Qian and the other executives escorted him to the elevator with respectful admiration, their eyes almost reverential. Back in the top-floor office, Hu Qian stood at the vast floor-to-ceiling window, looking out over the bustling city of Xing. Her chest swelled. In a short time from nothing, he had built a billion-dollar empire and held two industry-disrupting trump cards. Her awe and loyalty to Lin Yang ran deep. Lin Yang merged his U8 into city traffic, glancing at the rearview mirror with a calm, satisfied smile. Zhao Tianyu's fury? Xinjiang capital's retaliation? Against the backdrop of absolute intelligence advantage and meticulous preemption, they were little more than futile struggles. The game was now moving to his rhythm. As his car neared the entrance to the Binjiang Bay residential district, the property manager, Zhang Human, stood conspicuously in the heat, in a crisp but slightly sweat-dampened suit. Seeing Lin Yang's U8, he jogged forward with an eager smile. Lin Yang rolled down the window. "Manager Zhang, is something wrong?" "Mr. Lin," Zhang Human said respectfully, handing over a hot stamped envelope with both hands. "This is an invitation from the Guojin Center. I was worried the delivery downstairs might be late and delay your business, so I brought it myself and waited at the entrance." "You're working hard in this heat." Lin Yang accepted the envelope, which felt substantial in his hand, and nodded. He took a pack of He Tianxia cigarettes from the passenger seat compartment and offered it. "Take this. You've earned it." "Oh my! Thank you, Mr. Lin. Thank you so much." Zhang Human beamed, receiving the cigarettes with both hands and profuse thanks. To him, the pack was a modest luxury, but what mattered was the gesture and the fact that Lin Yang remembered him. Binjiang Bay had been developed by Chen Zhengguo, Xing City's richest man, and Lin Yang's girlfriend was Chen Qingqing, Chen's daughter. Clinging to Lin Yang's coattails could secure a bright future. That thought made Zhang nearly giddy. He walked back to the property office like a man holding a treasure. "Old Zhang, why are you so happy? What did Mr. Lin give you this time?" a colleague asked. Zhang put the cigarettes away carefully and lowered his voice. Nothing. Just helping Mr. Lin with something. It's a secret." Lin Yang parked and took the invitation back out. The IFS Guojin Center logo glittered on the hot-stamped envelope. Inside was an invitation to the annual Peak VIP private shopping event, worded with exaggerated reverence and reserved for the top 30 VIPs by annual spend. The event, set for Saturday, promised unreleased limited items and exclusive discounts. A few months earlier, Lin Yang would have walked past such a mall with a sense of being out of place, imagining the sales assistant's judging looks. Now he had an invitation as one of their honored VIPs. He slipped the card into his pocket with a strangely satisfied feeling. Chen Qingqing's Porsche pulled into a space at that moment. She stepped out, saw the invitation in Lin Yang's hand, and smiled. "You got one too? Guojin's private sale has some rare finds. Want to go shopping together Saturday?" Lin Yang tucked the invitation away and smiled easily. "Sure. Let's go broaden our horizons." A place he used to only admire from afar had become somewhere to browse at leisure. The change in status and wealth had given him not just material comfort, but a steady, unshakable confidence that he could control his life. And all of this, he knew, was only the beginning. Saturday evening, the sinking sun drenched Xing City in golden light. Lin Yang steered his U8 toward the glittering flow of cars headed for the city center, Chen Qingqing radiant at his side. The Guojin Center rose before them like a sword cleaving the sky. At 458 meters and 108 floors, it dominated the skyline, a symbol of power and opulence. After parking, Lin Yang moved toward the nearest public elevator until Chen Qingqing, smiling faintly, slipped her hand through his arm. "Not this way," she said. "The internal purchase entrance is on the other side. The regular elevators don't go up." She knew the place well. He nodded and followed her through the bright, bustling public shopping area into a quieter, heavily guarded private passage. A short walk brought them to a line of security, tall, sharply uniformed men with model good looks who blocked their path with professional courtesy. "Sir, madam, please show your invitation." Both produced hot-stamped gold envelopes. A guard scanned the anti-counterfeit chip on each envelope with a handheld device, checked their IDs, then stepped aside with an impeccably polite bow. "Mr. Lin, Miss Chen, this way, please. Enjoy your evening." At the end of the corridor stood double matte metal doors, heavy and fortress-like. Two receptionists in champagne-colored couture gowns waited there, the embodiment of practiced poise. As Lin Yang and Chen Qingqing approached, the women bowed in perfect unison and opened the doors with identical, cultured smiles. "Welcome to the Pinnacle Grand Ceremony. Please enter." Inside, the private elevator smelled of refined perfume and rose with a smooth, rapid hush to the 108th floor. The doors slid open with a soft ding. Even Lin Yang's calm composure tightened for a moment as he took in the sight beyond. 20 figures stood like an honor guard in the elevator alcove. 10 of the hottest male stars on the left, 10 of the top female celebrities on the right, each dazzling, impeccably dressed, and all wearing the organizer's insignia. These were the moment's biggest names, pop idols, award-winning actors, the new pure seductress darling, lined up to greet guests. At the center of the front row on the right, Su Wangqing shone brightest. The actress who had stormed Asia with a phenomenal hit drama, whose endorsements and brand deals guaranteed massive traffic, now smiled widely, an almost eager, deferential brightness replacing her usual on-screen cool. Her bow was a fraction deeper than the others. Chen Qingqing linked her arm with Lin Yang's and gave him an understanding smile as he hesitated, then led him confidently out of the elevator. The celebrities all kept their smiles fixed and flawless, eyes following the guests. No room for indifference here. The hall beyond the doors was breathtaking. The pinnacle of Guojin, a vast domed room of sublime luxury with floor-to-ceiling glass curtains. Night had fallen. The city's lights spread beneath them like a field of stars, neon, car streams, and countless household lights flowing into a dazzling urban river. It felt like standing on the highest peak in the world. In the center, a dozen round tables dressed in pristine white linens were set with crystal candelabras and rare flowers, each bearing a hot-stamped nameplate. Black tailcoat waiters in white gloves moved with discreet precision, serving chilled bottles of Dom Perignon. Lin Yang and Chen Qingqing were seated at the most central table, facing a small, tastefully arranged stage. This was not an auction, but an immersive, high-end social exhibition. The celebrities who had served as greeters became the evening's display models and senior sales representatives. Su Wanqing stood beside a bejeweled middle-aged noblewoman, cradling an opulent tiara set with diamonds and a 15-carat Colombian emerald. Her smile was almost painfully sweet as she murmured the product details, her posture humble, attentively answering questions. Nearby, the newly crowned international film emperor bent slightly over a black velvet box, presenting a platinum brooch inset with blue diamonds that caught the light like liquid. He adjusted the angle at a cue from an elderly guest, handling the piece with the reverence of one showing a rare relic. A singer known for his rock star coolness forced on the warmest smile yet as he helped a young heiress try on a one-of-3 limited edition watch, carefully fastening the strap as if performing a ritual. The entire hall thrummed with quiet pressure. These stars, adored by millions and used to spotlight worship, had shed their halos. Here they were cautious, attentive servants. Every glance, every frown, every inflection could spell career fortune or ruin. The guests were captains of capital, the heads of magnate families, the holders of fortunes who could shape careers with a nod or a slight. No one could afford negligence. Smiles had to be perfect, service flawless, and humility always at the surface. Lin Yang watched the scene with calm detachment. His heart did not race. He only thought that the rules at the very top of this pyramid were as real as they were absurd. As Su Wanqing stepped toward the next table, the heel of her shoe caught lightly on the carpet. She recovered with lightning reflexes, but the emerald diadem in her hand still wobbled. For a second, her face went deathly pale, and a film of cold sweat formed on her brow. She bent to check the jewel. Only after confirming the priceless emerald was intact did she force herself to steady her pulse, paste on an even brighter smile, and continue on. her steps a little too cautious to be natural. At a round table in the center of the hall, a man in his 40s, impeccably dressed and slicked back, laughed among a cluster of wealthy patrons and celebrities. Li Mingyan, senior vice president of Liangzhou Qiuan Group, enjoyed the kind of attention his position and connections procured. The group's sway in Hunan and the formidable reputation of Liang Dingan, plus a rumored kinship with Liang Dingan's chief assistant, meant Li Mingyan was used to being flattered wherever he went. His gaze drifted across the room and caught on Lin Yang. At first it was casual, then his pupils constricted. The smile on his face froze. Shock, then a flicker of panic, replaced the smug expression. He stared at Lin Yang until a memory struck him like lightning. Last week, his cousin, Liang Dingan's chief assistant, had leaned in at a family gathering and warned him in a low voice, "Mingyan, keep your eyes open. If you see a young man named Lin Yang, don't offend him. The old master values him. He's even being groomed to take over the group. I'll show you his photo. Make sure you know him." His cousin had shown him a slightly blurry but unmistakable photo on his phone. The composed young man in that image was the same one now sitting in the central area, talking quietly with Chen Qingqing. Li Minghan felt as if an invisible hand had gripped his heart. Cold crept up his spine. The champagne glass in his hand trembled. Long Dingan's favored successor? Standing right here? And he had been crowing about his own importance just moments ago, oblivious to the real air in the room? Panic replaced vanity. He shoved back from the table so fast a chair toppled with a clang, drawing startled looks. Li Minghan ignored his entourage and the circle of admirers, abandoned his carefully cultivated image, and practically lunged toward Lin Yang's table. The arrogant smile was gone. In its place was urgency and humbleness. "Mr. Lin! Mr. Lin!" His voice shook. He rushed up, stumbling under the weight of his agitation. He ignored Chen Qingqing and the other guests, bowed so deeply his posture was lower than the celebrities, and spoke with stammering, obsequious respect. "I didn't realize Mr. Lin was here. I apologize for not greeting you sooner. Please forgive my oversight. If there's anything you need, please say the word." Everyone in the core area fell silent, as if the air had been cut. Li Minghan's tablemates were stunned into silence. Su Wanqing, still holding the diadem, covered her mouth. She'd frozen mid-promotion. Gasps rippled through the crowd. This was Li Mingyan, vice president of a major group, the trusted right hand of Liang Dingan, someone who usually looked down on others and commanded deference from city officials. Yet here he was, shivering and groveling before a young man. It was inconceivable. Lin Yang raised his eyes and regarded the sweating, trembling man with an unruffled calm. He knew why. News from the Liang family moved fast. "Mr. Li, there's no need," Lin Yang said coolly. "Yes, there is. There is." Li Minghan pressed on, relieved that Lin Yang hadn't snapped, but terrified to relax. He bowed lower, words tumbling out. "It was my mistake not to recognize you. Please forgive me. If you need anything at all, anything, please let me know." He would have offered his heart on a platter if he could. Li Minghan understood that titles only went so far. There were many vice presidents in the group. This man could be the future heir, his future boss, and currying favor now was a pragmatic survival strategy. "No need," Lin Yang waved him off. His tone remained distant. "Chen Qingqing and I are just looking around. Mr. Li, carry on." Yes, of course, understood. Mr. Lin, Miss Chen, please enjoy the event. If you need anything, call me at once. I'll be right here." Li Minghan bowed repeatedly, then managed a polite bow to Chen Qingqing before backing away and sliding back to his seat. His shirt was damp with sweat. Forced smiles did nothing to hide his shaken composure. The entire episode was a small depth charge in an otherwise calm pond. The brief blast was enough to send ripples through everyone in the core circle. Who was Lin Yang to reduce Li Mingyan to such a state? What did this mean about Liangzhou Qiuan Group? Was his authority above Li Minghan's, or even above anyone in the Liang family? Su Wanqing had seen it all. Shock and a new, wary reverence filled her gaze. She hadn't made the mistake of underestimating him because he was young. That would have been fatal. His connections were clearly to the very top. Her palms were slick with sweat where they gripped the diadem. The next day, Weibo's hot search was predictably dominated by the National Gold Peak internal purchase event. One topic in particular blew up: Su Wanqing's night surrounded by big shots. If she'd shown even one frown, she might have had to say goodbye to the industry. Leaked photos surfaced. Su Wanqing holding the emerald diadem with a strained smile, a shot that caught the instant she stumbled and went pale, and a clear image of Li Minghan bowing toward Lin Yang, his posture so low he looked almost cringing. The comment threads erupted. Whoa, that's really Su Wanqing. What's that green thing she's got? Makes my eyes hurt. At least 8 figures, right? Look at who she's surrounded by. Mrs. Zhang from Shuguang Group, a real matriarch. Su Wanqing looks like a servant next to her. The big shots' tastes don't bend for capital. Whoever they favor stands at the top. Whatever the money promotes, the powerful can toss aside. Don't kid yourself. Power is the ultimate capital. Even someone as strong as Su Wanqing has to perform at these events to keep her sponsors happy. Check that stumble gif. Her face went white. So real. The grind of the industry hits hard. Hot tip, this is an internal purchase event, not a public red carpet. I heard the minimum was in the 7 figures. Rumors said some transactions topped 100 million. Celebrities here are basically high-end sales reps. Look at the last pic. Isn't that Li Mingyan from Liangzhou Qiwan? Who on earth is he bowing to? His back is practically a right angle. Zoom in on the person he's bowing to. Even if the face is a bit blurred, you can still tell he's good-looking. What's his background? To make Li Minghan behave like that? Li Minghan is Liang Dingen's confidant. Liang Dingen is the richest man in Xiangnan. The more you think about it, the scarier it gets. For Li Minghan to lose his nerve and bow like that in public, Lin Yang's background must be unfathomable. No wonder Su Wanqing looked stunned. In front of the people who actually control capital, top celebrities are just luxury salespeople. Big shots like Li Minghan are, I don't even want to imagine. The class gap is suffocating. The speculation swelled into a fever. Whoever Lin Yang was, the world around him had already begun to rearrange itself. It was a little past 9 in the morning. The sun, still lazy, filtered through the clouds and slanted between the scattered high-rises of Xing City. Lin Yang had slept deeply. The tension of several months of non-stop work, capped by last night's extravagant peak ceremony, had finally been smoothed out by a solid night's rest. He padded into the bathroom in slippers, turned on the tap, and splashed cold water on his face. The muddle in his head cleared. Habit made his gaze sweep to the inconspicuous corner by the sink. A plain white ceramic basin sat there. Inside it, a plant had been unfurling large, unusual leaves that nearly filled the space. It was a Monstera deliciosa, one he'd pulled from the demolition rubble of Jinling community months ago. The system had only tagged it then as a mutated Monstera deliciosa and estimated it worth millions, so he'd left it in the damp bathroom, too busy to care for it properly. He froze. Water trickled down his jaw as he shut off the faucet and stared. The plant looked different. Everything about it had changed. The huge dark green leaves, streaked with yellow-white like inked jade, were now dusted with countless tiny white spots, finer than pinpricks. They weren't random. They formed an almost invisible constellation across the foliage. In the clear morning light, the spots glittered, cool, moist, diamond bright, so that the whole plant seemed sprinkled with stardust. What had been merely odd before now carried an ethereal, mysterious beauty, like a work of natural art. Lin Yang raised an eyebrow. He hadn't expected the little thing to transform so dramatically while he was distracted. He took out his phone, adjusted the angle, and snapped several clear photos, focusing on the star-like flecks that caught the sunlight. Since he finally had time, he decided to act. Back in the living room, he opened his tablet and searched for Rare Tropical Plant Trading Platform. A simple, professional forum came up, Xianje Yuan. The rules were blunt and exclusive, membership limited to collectors who registered genuine rare tropical plants. The rarer the specimen you owned, the higher your status. It was a purer, more merciless pyramid built on plant value alone. Lin Yang registered quickly under the name Yang. New members could make one listing, so he uploaded the photos and typed a brief notice. Mutated Monstera deliciosa, good condition, includes pot. Serious inquiries by private message only. He hit send, set the tablet down, and left his apartment, heading to Chen Qingqing's across the hall. The faint, comforting trace of her presence still lingered in the air. Xianje Yuan, northern suburbs of Beijing. Beneath the huge glass dome, a humid rainforest was incongruous against Beijing's dry late autumn. Tropical plants of bizarre shapes and saturated colors thrived in the constant temperature and humidity, each one a collector's treasure. But at that moment, the attention in this top-tier exhibition had narrowed to an invisible contest between two young men. Zhao Tianyu's face was tight with anger. He stood with his fingers nearly crushing a crystal champagne flute, staring at an emperor golden nest fern, an enormous plant whose leaves formed a nest-like rosette, the edges rimmed in golden waves. He'd spent nearly 20 million and trawled several countries to get it. It should have been the highlight of the day. Yet last week his rival Zhou Zixuan had somehow secured a legendary ghost orchid phantasm, a nearly transparent orchid whose ghostly outline only showed under specific light. Its rarity and mystery had ignited the whole Xianzheyuan circle and sent Zhou's garden contribution value soaring, trampling Zhao's standing. "Young Master Zhao, you don't look well," Zhou Zixuan said as he strolled over, deliberately smug. He was followed by the forum's senior horticulturist, who wore the same satisfied expression. Zhou glanced at Zhao's golden nest fern and sneered. "Emperor is impressive, sure," he said, "but its rarity is still limited. There are about 10 recorded specimens worldwide." The remark hit like a poisoned needle. Zhao's eyes flashed. He snapped back, his voice hard with spite. "What are you so proud of? It's only one ghost orchid. I've mobilized my entire network, scoured the globe. I refuse to believe I can't find something rarer than a phantasm. We'll see who ends up crying." His phone buzzed violently in his pocket. Irritated, Zhao pulled it out. A new post had just appeared on the Xianzhiyuan forum, established by him and Zhou to collect rare tropicals around the world. The keywords caught his eye. Mutated, Monstera deliciosa. Already irked by Zhou's taunts, and thinking Monstera was trivial, he scoffed. "Tsk, low-grade stuff." Zhou's ears perked up at the tone and he leaned in, curiosity and provocation plain on his face. "Let me see." Zhao, wanting to gloat, opened the notification and shoved his phone under Zhao's nose. "Look, newly posted on the forum, mutated Monstera deliciosa, a big item, supposedly worth millions. Look at their taste. Pathetic." He expected Zhao to share his disdain. Instead, Zhou looked at the photo, and the smile on his face died. The background was ordinary bathroom tile. The Monstera filled the frame. But when his eyes landed on the dense, evenly distributed star-like spots scattered across the massive leaves, each one catching the morning light with a cold, diamond-like gleam, Zhou's expression changed as if he'd been struck. His pupils narrowed until they were pinpricks. He lurched forward, and the champagne flute in his hand trembled. Wine sloshed and spilled down the stem. This, he stammered, throat raw, barely able to get the words out. Zhao Tianyu froze. He'd expected ridicule, not this. Zhou Zixuan's reaction was impossible to read. It wasn't just surprise. The young man seemed utterly transfixed by the photo. The dense, uniform star-like speckles, the cold, mysterious sheen, a name that belonged to top plant hunter legend, detonated in Zhao's head. Star spot mutation. Not just any mutation. An overwhelming, flawless, radiant spread. This wasn't an ordinary Monstera. This was the fabled Tears of the Starry Sky, the plant world's living star map. Priceless, beyond value. At the same time, the Immortal Treasure Garden Forum's administrator, the renowned botanical authority who posted under the ID Eye of the Jungle, was the first to reply to Lin Yang's post. 3 words, but they hit like a tremor. Star spot mutation? That single reply set the whole forum on fire. Hidden experts surfaced at once, and the thread's responses exploded. Messages poured in, frantic and incredulous. "My God, this density, this uniformity, that sheen. You're sure it's not photoshopped? Holy, the Tears of the Starry Sky, a once-in-a-lifetime series? At Eye of the Jungle, authenticate this. We demand the truth. Location Beijing, offering 18 million. PM me, OP. Get out of here. With that mutation, 18 million, I'm offering 25. 28 million cash. OP, please prioritize me." The bid skyrocketed, flaming upward in seconds. Those elite IDs with long ownership histories and reputations, usually impeccable, now read like gamblers with red eyes. Money figures blinked across screens, each higher than the last. Zhao Tianyu watched the dizzying numbers scroll on his phone and then glanced at Zhou Zixuan beside him. Zhou was still staring at the image, breathing fast. Zhao realized with a horrible jolt that he'd made a colossal mistake. He had underestimated what was in that photo. Panic and disbelief knotted in his gut. Then Zhou's shock hardened into violent focus. He stopped looking at the screen full of bids as if the crowd no longer existed. His fingers flew, and he posted under the ID Yang, every word laced with the determination of a man who would not lose. 30 million. Cash. Now. PM me. I am Zhou Zixuan, the Zhou family of Beijing. Silence was the immediate reply, as if someone had plunged a hand into the room and squeezed. 30 million for a pot of foliage? Zhao's jaw dropped. He nearly shouted, Zhou Zixuan, are you out of your mind? 30 million for a broken pot of grass? Zhou finally looked up. The flush of excitement still marked his cheeks, but his eyes were cold as knives. A contemptuous smile curled his lips. Broken grass? He said softly, but with a tone that cut through the distance like a blade. Zhao Qianyu, you've got more nerve than sense. Use that rusty brain of yours. He stepped forward, gaze razor-sharp, and punctured each word like an accusation. Do you really think that's a broken pot of grass? Are you stupid or blind? The color drained from Zhao's face. He knew about the tears of the starry sky. Everyone in their circle knew. It was beyond valuable. His earlier attempt to play ignorance to chase Zhao away had backfired. Panic became calculation. He typed a frantic bid, 60 million. Zhao didn't hesitate. He doubled it on the spot and shouted into his phone, decisive and cold, 120 million. Now. Then he rang his assistant. There was no question in his voice, only commands, swift, absolute. Find the registration and IP info for the ID Yang now. Use every channel. I want results within 5 minutes. Ready my private jet. Fill the tanks. Apply for the fastest route. Confirm the destination as soon as the IP is traced. Tell the crew to be ready for immediate takeoff. On the other end, the assistant snapped into action, stunned but professional. Yes, young Master Zhao, executing now. Almost instantly, an encrypted message arrived on Zhou's phone. The assistant's speed was extraordinary. Target IDing registration info, IP location, Xiangnan Province, Xing City, Runhe Binjiangbei residential area. Zhou didn't spare Zhao another glance. He turned and strode out of the immortal treasure garden like a predator taking off, long legs eating the floor with urgent, purposeful steps. The expensive leather of his shoes clicked and disappeared beneath the glass dome. The core exhibition area fell oddly still. The two young masters had been at one another's throats a moment ago. Now one had suddenly bolted. Murmurs spread. What happened? Why did both young Master Zhou and young Master Zhao suddenly run off? Look at their faces. Whatever it is, it's big. Someone else peered at their phone and cried out, Check the forum, it's erupting. Hands fumbled for phones. When the original post by ID Yang reappeared with that photo, leaves like frozen fragments of the night sky, and the bids cascading below, the crowd's reaction turned into a collective gasp. My heavens, star spot mutation? Tears of the starry sky? No wonder, it's priceless. 120 million? Young Master Zhou bid 120 million? Young Master Zhao 60? They're insane. The IP's in Xing City. They must have found the address and are flying out to snatch it. A pot of grass made the heirs of the Zhou and Zhao families get on private jets? This is unreal. Between shock and excitement, the forum's esteem for the find only grew. The administrator, Eye of the Jungle, an aging white-haired botanical doyen, sat holding a tablet, hands trembling slightly. His clouded eyes dwelled on the star-speckled leaves as if he were looking at a miracle. A true botanical miracle, he murmured. To see it in my lifetime, I can die without regret. Young Master Zhou, young Master Zhao, who will it end up with? Back in the exhibition hall, Zhao Tianyu's face had shifted from pale to a sallow flush. He was furious, humiliated by Zhou's dismissal and driven wild by the thought of losing such an unmatched treasure. Gripping his phone until his knuckles went white, Zhou's 120 million bid burning on screen like a brand, he ground out the name, each syllable a curse. Zhou, Z, Xuan. He barked into his phone, every word in order. Get my plane ready, now. Apply for the fastest route to Xing City. Take off immediately. All crew in position. I'm going personally. Notify every contact in Xing City that can move. Find who registered the ID Yang in Runhe Binjiangbei, the house number, any details. I don't care, even what socks he wears today. Find it. If that bastard Zhou gets there first, pack up and get out. He slammed the phone into his suit pocket so hard 2 buttons popped. He snatched a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and knocked it back without a pause. The cold fizz meant nothing against his burning need. He pivoted and barreled through the stunned guests, chasing Joe like a man possessed. Within a minute, the 2 most conspicuous heirs in Beijing had vanished, gone, armed with private jets and the same single aim. The exhibition dissolved into uproar. "Whatever it is, it's shaking up everything," people said, glancing at one another. "Both the Zhou and Zhao heirs are personally going? This is beyond money." The thread continued to pulse with bids, rumors, and disbelief. Who was Yang, the owner of this miraculous plant, to casually post such a thing? The street outside the immortal treasure garden seemed to empty of breath as everyone imagined room Binjiang Bay in Qing City, where a race had already begun. A pot of grass, a photograph, and a handful of glowing spots had ignited a war among the elite. In the hush that followed, all eyes drifted southward, toward Qing City, toward the stretch of riverfront houses where fortunes might be made or lost. The scramble for the tears of the starry sky had begun. A Gulfstream G650 eased down onto the private runway at Qing City International Airport. Chen Zhengguo stood at the VIP exit, fidgeting with his tie. As the richest man in Qing City, he was rarely nervous, but today he was here to meet the heir of the Zhou family from the capital. "Mr. Chen, young Master Zhao's plane has landed," his assistant reported, jogging up in a low voice. "Is the car ready?" Chen asked, wiping a bead of sweat from his forehead. "It's the limited edition Rolls-Royce Phantom, only one in the city, just delivered from the showroom." He barely finished reassuring himself when another engine thundered overhead. A second private jet, this one bearing the Zhao Group logo, touched down on the adjacent strip. The Zhao family's plane? Chen's eyes widened. The Zhaos and the Zhaos were fierce rivals. What were both families doing here at the same time? Before he could puzzle it out, the glass doors of the VIP channel slid open. A tall, slim young man in a flawless dark blue suit strode out, expression cool, 4 bodyguards in black close behind. Zhou Zixuan barely glanced up from his phone. "Young Master Zhou, welcome to Qing City." Chen practically bowed as he approached, forcing on his most ingratiating smile. Zhou gave a faint nod. "Is Binjiang Bay one of your developments?" "Yes, Binjiang Bay is our flagship project. Does young Master Zhou have a friend there?" Chen gushed, the smile stretching wider, creases deepening at the corners of his eyes. "Don't make a fuss. Take us to Binjiang Bay." Zhou's voice was clipped, his attention already back on his phone. Just then, Zhao Tianyu swept up with a crowd of attendants, all movement and bluster. He wore a wine-red suit with his tie loose, a dissolute playboy at first glance, but his eyes were hawk-sharp. He toyed with a jade pinky ring and gave a forced smile. "Zhou Zixuan, always in a hurry, aren't you?" Zhao said. "It's a pity good things don't always go to whoever shows up first." Zhou sneered. "Young Master Zhao, you're fond of talking for no reason." Chen found himself awkwardly trapped in the middle, sweating more now than before. He had heard of the rivalry between these 2 heirs, but he'd never expected it to play out on his own turf. "Shall we get in the car?" he offered, bowing even lower. "I've arranged lunch at Westlake Restaurant. Less nonsense." Zhao brushed him off, his Patek Philippe flashing in the sunlight. "Get on with it. Lead us to Binjiang Bay. We're not here to sightsee. We want that mutated turtleback bamboo." Right. Chen hurried them toward the Rolls-Royce. He climbed into the front passenger seat while the 2 young masters took the rear. The car slipped out of the VIP channel and onto the highway to Binjiang Bay. From the back, tensions between the 2 flared in clipped remarks and cold glares. Then Zhou spoke, voice low and precise. "You have extensive connections in Qing City. Help me look someone up. The Xianzhen Garden registration shows an ID Yang. He lives in Binjiang Bay, and he has a rare plant." "Yang?" Chen repeated, startled. "A rare plant?" The name sparked an image in his head, then the phrase tumbled out before he could stop it. "The Starry Tears mutant turtleback bamboo?" Zhao's eyes lit with fanatic hunger. A living fossil of the plant world, no more than 3 in existence. He actually keeps it in his bathroom. What a waste. Chen's head buzzed. Whatever this plant was, it had driven these heirs into a feeding frenzy. He pulled out his phone. "I'll have someone investigate right away. Oh, I'm actually having lunch with my daughter and her husband today." He owns a place in Binjiang Bay. Maybe he can tell us which building. Who cares about your son-in-law? Zhao snapped. Call and ask which building that Yang lives in. Now. An hour later, the Phantom rolled into the ground parking lot of Binjiang Bay Community, an area normally closed off except for VIPs. Heads turned as the car idled. People whispered, speculating at the important arrival and at the boss himself waiting on the tarmac. As the car stopped, Zhou's phone buzzed. They had managed to pull the phone number from Xianzhen Gardens registration records. Zhou dialed. Hello, I'm Zhou Zixuan, regarding the mutant turtleback bamboo you posted. A tired, male voice replied, sharp with impatience. I'm busy now. I'll talk when I have time. And the line went dead. Zhao laughed and slapped the leather seat. Looks like young Master Zhou's clout doesn't reach that far. Zhou's expression tightened into a dark line. Chen felt a prickle of alarm. Who would dare hang up on the Zhao heir? At Xing City Ocean Park, Lin Yang stuffed his phone back into his pocket and looked helplessly at the woman beside him. Another sales call? Chen Qingqing was holding his arm, sunlight catching the pale blue dress she wore. Her skin gleamed under the aquarium lights. The gentle blue of the water painted patterns across her face. They stood in the underwater tunnel, fish sliding past overhead. She was so beautiful, Lin almost forgot everything. What were you staring at? She asked, lowering her eyes and blushing, hair spilling over her cheek. Looking at you. He leaned toward her slowly, about to close the distance. Then his phone buzzed again. Aw, damn it, he muttered as he slid the phone open, then cut the call off without even glancing at the screen. Who is it? Why do you have so many calls today? Chen Qingqing asked. Probably a scam, Lin said, shrugging and forcing a smile. He tucked the phone away and turned back to the tunnel, the fish and blue light wrapping them both as if nothing else mattered. Damn it! Zhao Tianyu stared at the dead screen, his face going ink black. He slammed the phone down onto the Rolls-Royce leather seat with a dull thud. Ha! Zhou Zixuan's laugh rang out, long fingers stroking his chin. Zhao Xiao, he said casually, your influence doesn't seem quite as absolute as you thought. Zhao Tianyu's eyes flashed. Shut up, that kid had the nerve to hang up on me. He's asking for trouble. Chen Zhengguo was sweating lightly, trying to smooth things over. Please, young masters, calm down. It'll take me some time to investigate who this Lin Yang is. It's almost noon. Why don't we go to Westlake Restaurant for lunch? I've already booked the best private room. Zhou Zixuan glanced at his watch and nodded. All right, the cellar is unreachable for now anyway. Humph, Zhao Tianyu muttered, but he still let Chen Zhengguo steer him toward the car. As the Rolls-Royce eased away from Binjiang Bay Community, Chen Zhengguo took out his phone and quietly sent a message to Lin Yang. Westlake Restaurant, Tianxiang Pavilion, noon. 2 important guests from the capital. Be punctual. At the ocean park, Lin Yang had just cut off a third harassing call when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the message from Chen Zhengguo and frowned. What's up? Chen Qingqing reached out and smoothed the furrow between his brows with a concerned hand. My dad says we need to go to Westlake for lunch. He says there are important guests. Lin Yang sighed. Looks like our date ends early. Chen Qingqing pouted, then smiled. It's okay. We can come back to the park another time. He tousled her hair, and they walked hand in hand toward the exit, sunlight dappling them through the trees. Inside the Tianxiang Pavilion private room, Chen Zhengguo fussed over the tea with the humility of a servant. Young Master Zhou, this is the new Mingqian Longjing, just harvested. Young Master Zhao, please try this appetizer. The door opened, and Lin Yang stepped in with Chen Qingqing. He raised an eyebrow at Chen Zhengguo's obsequiousness. Dad, we're here, Chen Qingqing called softly, and Chen Zhengguo swung around with a smile that could have split a mountain. Ah, you've come. Let me introduce. Zhao Tianyu didn't bother to look up, fingers flicking over his phone. Zhou Zixuan, however, rose and extended a hand. Hello, I'm Zhou Zixuan. Lin Yang, he replied. Their handshake was firm and warm. Chen Zhengguo eagerly added, This is my daughter, Chen Qingqing, and her boyfriend, Lin Yang. Lin owns a place in Binjiang Bay, young and promising. Only then did Zhao Tianyu glance over, eyes narrowing with obvious disdain, and return to refreshing his forum page. Waiters began placing dishes around the mahogany table, the room filled with the scent of fine cooking. The two young masters turned the meal into a running commentary on the mysterious plant. The distribution of the starry tears in that photo is too perfect, Joe observed, lifting a piece of steamed perch to his lips. I suspect it's the ultimate natural mutation. Humph, could be photoshopped, Zhao said, but his thumb never stopped scrolling the forum. The seller still hasn't answered. Maybe it's a prank. Chen Zhengguo, genuinely curious, leaned forward. Is that plant really worth that much? Zhou Zixuan put down his chopsticks and for once explained patiently. An ordinary mutated turtleback bamboo might go for several million. But starry tears, that's legendary. Those tears aren't disease spots. They're star-shaped structures formed by a special arrangement of chloroplasts that glow under certain light. Last year, one with 30% coverage sold at auction in London for £30 million. Zhao Tianyu's eyes flashed. And this one, from the photos, looks like at least 90% coverage. Lin Yang's chopsticks paused. A storm of thought swept through him. He'd treated the bamboo as an oddity, nothing more. He'd never imagined it was the ultimate form of mutation, starry tears, and that the coverage might be 90%. The price would be astronomical. A plant he'd neglected for months had just multiplied his luck beyond reason. Still, he didn't gloat. With the intelligence system and his other assets, making money wasn't hard. The real problem was status. When your wealth reaches a certain level, it only matters if you can protect and use it, and you need the right connections for that. That was why his foodie battery shares were scattered across dozens of accounts. Too much attention would be dangerous. Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu weren't just wealthy, their positions and influence opened doors. If he could leverage the mutated bamboo to build a connection with one of them, his standing would improve as well. For people like them, money was a number. Countless fortunes were disposable. But the chance to attach himself to that kind of power was rare, more valuable than any single sale. He had to think carefully how to turn this to his advantage. Under the table, Lin Yang slipped his phone out and opened the Xianzhen Garden app. His post had been pushed to the homepage. The latest bid flashed across the screen, 230 million. The two young masters were locked in a bidding war on the forum, fingers flying. I'll bid 250 million. Zhao slammed the table, face reddening. 300 million, Zhao countered coolly. Chen Zhengguo watched, wide-eyed, nearly dropping his teacup as the offers climbed. Lin Yang sat back, eyes flicking between the two men. A plan took shape. The funniest part, he said lightly, lifting his teacup, is they have no idea the owner of that starry tears plant is actually sitting at this table. I'm going to the restroom, he announced, standing up with a composure that gave nothing away. Once the stall door closed, Lin Yang dialed the Xianzhen Garden administrator's number. Hello, this is ID Yang. Oh my God, you finally called back. The person on the other end blurted nearly incoherent with excitement. People from the Zhou family and the Zhao family are already in Xing City. Collectors worldwide are reaching out. Lin Yang smiled faintly. I know. There was a stunned silence before the admin stammered. You mean? Tell them this, Lin Yang said, voice steady. I'm not short of money. I'll sell the mutated turtleback bamboo to whoever shows the most sincerity. He hung up, breathed deep, and steadied his heart. He had been direct. With the status those two carried, they would understand. He wasn't selling for cash alone. He wanted something money couldn't buy, a connection, a rise in standing that would make his wealth truly his. When Lin Yang finished the call, he pushed open the private room door and stepped in with a calm face, only to be met by a roar of voices. Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu were flushed and furious, veins standing out in their necks like two enraged bulls, neither willing to give an inch. Teacups trembled on the table, a bead of tea sloshed against a rim. I bid 350 million. I will not let this mutated turtleback bamboo go. Zhou Zixuan slammed his palm down so hard the cutlery rattled. His eyes burned with determination as he pinned Zhao Tianyu with a stare that seemed to try and push him backward. Zhao Tianyu shot to his feet with a hiss, bracing both hands on the table and leaning forward until their faces were almost level. His voice went raw with the strain. 400 million. Raise it if you dare. His face was flushed, sweat beading on his forehead, hair become untidy. There was something crazed in his expression. The price climbed with every shouted retort. The air in the room felt charged, like something could ignite. The waiters had gone silent in the corner, afraid even to breathe. Then both men's phones chimed at once. A forwarded message from the Xianjian Garden administrator flashed on their screens. The owner of the mutated turtleback bamboo says he isn't short of money and does not care about price. He will only sell this peerless specimen to whoever shows the most sincerity. The room fell into a weird, hesitant silence. Zhou and Zhao's hands hung mid-gesture, the fierce urgency frozen into bewilderment. They stared at their phones as if the lines of text might unfold further meaning if they squinted hard enough. Sincerity? Zhao Tianyu broke the stillness first, frowning, looking to Zhou for clarification. Zhao did not answer immediately. He settled back, fingers drumming on the table in an even, deliberate rhythm. After a long moment, he gave a short, disdainful laugh. Humph, he's not talking about money. He wants status, Zhao said. In this world, besides money, the only thing that matters is status. A hard light flared in his eyes as if he'd read the real motive behind the owner's words. Zhao's face darkened. This is a setup, he muttered, sitting down heavily. Our Zhou family and Zhao family are both major players here in the capital. We're evenly matched. Neither of us can crush the other. He wants status. He's making it deliberately difficult. His hands clenched white at the knuckles, resentment hot in his chest. Zhou only smiled, narrow-eyed and certain. No matter what it takes, I have to get that bamboo. Whoever owns that plant will have a higher rank in Xianjian Garden. If I win, your standing here will always be beneath mine. Zhao's features twisted into a challenge. Don't delude yourself. I, Zhao Tianyu, won't be outdone. I'll get it. If it comes down to showing sincerity, then fine. We'll see who can prove it better. The two men reached for their phones at once, fingers already tapping orders to unseen aides. Lin Yang's phone buzzed then, cutting through his short reverie. He frowned and unlocked the screen with casual curiosity. It was a message from the Xianjian Garden administrator, more detailed and enthusiastic than the forwarded one the others had received, an invitation wrapped in a sales pitch. Mr. Lin, hello, it began. You've likely noticed young Master Zhou and young Master Zhao's determination to acquire that mutated turtleback bamboo. Allow me to introduce Xianjian Garden in detail. The message went on to describe the garden as a private club established by the top second-generation elites of Great Xia, a secretive gathering place for the wealthiest heirs. It used rare tropical plants as a distinctive bond, drawing in and connecting high-end second-generation elites from around the world. Every member possessed an impressive family background, scions of industrial magnates, the favored sons of old money dynasties, each with vast resources at their disposal. In Xianjian Garden, status is not measured by wealth alone, but also by the rarity of the tropical specimens you own, the administrator explained. Those unique, priceless plants are like shining calling cards. They show taste, influence, and strength. Members with rarer collections enjoy higher prestige. Their names carry weight in this circle, and their actions can spark imitation across the elite. The message continued, laying out the club's attractions, elite networking that could open doors to business cooperation and information sharing, gatherings that often revealed industry insights and led to lucrative partnerships, exclusive social events, opulent dinners, private tastings, and discreet salons, where one shared a table with celebrities and industry leaders, amplifying personal influence overnight. Membership also includes bespoke services, the administrator wrote. Professional plant care teams tend your specimens. Top social strategists craft personalized reputation plans. Private channels guarantee you exceptional treatment at any event. In short, Xianjian Garden spares no effort to meet members' needs and uphold their dignity. Finally, the message spelled out the requirements. Money and status alone were not enough. Prospective members needed introductions, and 2/3 of current members had to approve. Young Master Zhou and Young Master Zhao have both offered to introduce you and guarantee your membership vote. Lin's thumb drifted across the screen as he read. The picture the administrator painted was clear, and a slow, calculating smile creased his face. He recalled the eager, almost desperate looks on Zhou and Zhao's faces. They weren't just after a rare plant. They were fighting for rank, for a way to elevate themselves within this exclusive circle. Compensation of mere membership would be too small. If the bamboo was the key to status in Xianzhen Garden, those two would pay whatever counted as proof of sincerity. Lin set the phone down without replying. He would let them squabble a while longer and see how far their desire went. His eyes were sharp. He had found leverage, and he intended to use it to the fullest. As the meal dragged on, the mood at the table grew heavy and the food lost its appeal. Dinner was nearly over, and Chen Zhengguo still hadn't identified the owner of the mutated turtleback bamboo. Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu could no longer hide their impatience and kept pressing him. How long is this going to take? Why isn't there a result yet? Zhao Tianyu snapped, frowning. He slammed his chopsticks down so they clicked against the table. Zhou Zixuan added, "Mr. Chen, we've been waiting a long time. Is this really that hard to solve?" They stared at Chen Zhengguo as if they could force the answer from his face. Chen smiled helplessly and explained, "Young masters, you don't understand. With only one photo and thousands of households in this community, finding the owner of that plant is not easy. Even if I were the richest man in Qing City, this isn't something you can fix overnight. Give me more time, and I'll get it done." He spread his hands, his expression earnest. Zhao Tianyu's face darkened. He looked ready to blow. Zhou Zixuan quickly stepped in to defuse the situation. "Tianyu, don't be anxious. Uncle Chen has done his best. Some things can't be rushed." He shot Zhao a warning wink to calm him. Zhao inhaled sharply, tamped down his anger, and said nothing more. Chen gave Zhao a grateful look, inwardly relieved. After dinner, Chen Zhengguo personally drove Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu to their hotel. The ride was quiet and tense. No one spoke. Lin Yang and Chen Qingqing went back to their own car. As the city lights slid past the window, Lin kept glancing at the receding streets, curiosity gnawing at him about who Zhou and Zhao really were. "Qingqing, do you know exactly who Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu are?" "I only know they're top-tier rich second-generation heirs, but that's about it." Chen Qingqing shook her head gently. "Not in detail. My dad has mentioned them. In Daxia, there are two great conglomerates, Shangzhou and Xinzong. Shangzhou belongs to the Zhou family, Xinzong to the Zhaos. Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu are the heirs to those two empires." Lin felt a jolt. He had suspected they were important, but not this. Two of the biggest corporate powers in Daxia. They were like twin mountains in the country's business landscape, immovable. The Shangzhou Group, founded in the 19th century, had been a pioneer of Daxia's industry and commerce, and a landmark in the nation's modern economic development. For more than a century, it had weathered storms and remained vital and influential. Today, it was a diversified conglomerate with businesses spanning transportation and logistics, integrated finance, urban and park development, and more. In transportation and logistics, it had built a land-water intermodal network. Shangzhou Port was a global leader. Their operations covered port handling, logistics, technology applications, and comprehensive services, creating a nearly complete port network across Daxia's major coastal hubs and extending into Asia, Africa, Europe, the Mediterranean, Oceania, South America, and North America. Shangzhou's reach touched nearly every aspect of the economy and played a major role in national development. The Xinzong Group was no less formidable. To stand alongside Shangzhou, Xinzong had to possess vast strategic reach and deep foundations in finance, technology, real estate, and more. In certain areas, it likely led the industry with unique advantages, controlling immense wealth and resources. Lin felt small and a little overwhelmed. His current assets, tens of billions, might make him notable in Qing City, but standing before giants like Shangzhou and Xinzong, he felt insignificant, like a minor wizard standing in the presence of masters. One word from their leaders could undo everything he'd worked for. He was excited. Meeting heirs of that caliber was a rare chance, but also nervous. This was an opportunity to make a leap in his career, but one misstep could ruin him. And the mutated turtleback bamboo was a double-edged sword. It offered vast opportunity, but also enormous risk. Lin's brow tightened. He needed to come up with a careful plan quickly to solve this problem and find a foothold in this dangerous, high-stakes family dispute. The next morning, just after dawn, Lin Yang opened his eyes to the familiar ping of the system notification in his head. "Ding! This month's intelligence has been delivered. Please check." Unconsciously, another month had passed. It was August 1st. He pulled up the panel. Luck was on his side this month. 10 intelligence reports. That settled it. He wouldn't use the reset function. Although accumulating 5 resets could unlock an extra super intelligence, every reset randomly refreshed the number and value of the reports. The count could even drop to 0. More importantly, with 10 reports, there was a small chance a super intelligence might appear. It was therefore wasteful to reset when the system had already pushed a full quota. Besides, a new feature, the intelligence furnace, had been unlocked recently. It required experience gained from reading 5 intelligence reports to use. Lin Yang had just enough reason to try it and see what benefits it offered. He opened the first report. Monthly Intelligence 1. Zhao Tianyu is the heir of the capital's Zhao family and the real controller behind Sinuo Pharmaceutical. He holds a grudge against the host over the Chungguang farm incident. Prepare to respond. He nearly choked. Zhao Tianyu was the actual power behind Sinuo Pharmaceutical. So that was the man who had threatened him on the phone. Because of the evidence Lin Yang had leaked, Sinuo Pharmaceutical had been ruined. The grudge was already in place. He had known whoever was behind the company must have deep connections, but he hadn't expected it to be this deep. Having the intelligence system helped him intercept benefits, spot leaks, and avoid danger, but growth took time. Lin Yang wasn't arrogant. He knew he couldn't take on Zhao Tianyu head-on. If Zhao Tianyu discovered his true identity, Lin Yang might not even know how he died. Fortunately, Zhao Tianyu didn't know who he was yet, and Lin Yang still had a little time to prepare. He was glad he hadn't reset the intelligence and risked losing this crucial information. Still, he'd already crossed paths with Zhao Tianyu, and because of the mutated turtleback bamboo he possessed, Zhao Tianyu would probably learn his identity within 2 days. Retaliation was inevitable then, and there wasn't enough time to develop sufficiently on his own. The best option was to leverage power. The Zhou family that Zhou Zixuan belonged to was on equal footing with the Zhao family. If Zhou Zixuan would protect him, Zhao Tianyu wouldn't be able to touch him. Lin Yang suspected Zhou would only do so for a high price. What could he offer that Zhou Zixuan valued? The pot of turtleback bamboo mutated by the starry tears. If he sold that to Zhou Zixuan in exchange for protection, Zhou might accept. He marked the report for danger avoidance and moved on. Monthly Intelligence 2. Zhou Zixuan is deeply cunning. One person in front, another behind. He appears harmless but is merciless. Do not be deceived by appearances. Lin Yang frowned. He'd only met Zhou Zixuan once, and the man had seemed pleasant and easy to approach, hardly the picture of a schemer, but high-level people were rarely simple. If Zhou Zixuan was indeed two-faced, then any deal might not be honored. Relying on others might be risky. Becoming strong himself was the real path forward. Still, Chen Zhengguo would soon discover that Lin Yang was the owner of the mutated bamboo, and once he told Zhao Tianyu and Zhou Zixuan his name, the connection would be made. It seemed some things were unavoidable. He hadn't expected a single pot of mutated bamboo to stir so much trouble, but the system had at least given him advance warning. Where there was danger, there was opportunity. If he planned carefully, he might be able to turn things around. Monthly Intelligence 3. On August 2nd, after Chen Zhengguo picks up Zhao Tianyu from the hotel, they will be involved in a serious car accident en route. Zhao Tianyu will lose his fertility. The Zhao family will blame Chen Zhengguo, clamp down on Runhe Group, and attempt a hostile takeover. Chen Zhengguo wasn't just Chen Qingqing's father. He had been instrumental in Lin Yang's early success. One of the reasons Lin Yang had gotten one of the best flats in Binjiang Bay. Chen had helped him a lot. Naturally, Lin Yang wanted to warn him and help him avoid risk. Alarm bells went off. August 2nd was tomorrow. Chen Zhengguo must already have confirmed that Lin Yang owned the mutated bamboo, and if he was going to pick up Zhao Tianyu tomorrow, it had to be for a deal. But why did the intelligence only mention Chen Zhengguo picking up Zhao Tianyu and not Zhou Zixuan, who had been with him? Recalling the second report, that Zhou Zixuan was insidious and ruthless, and that the Zhao and Zhou families were rivals, the fact that Zhou Zixuan wasn't in the car when the accident occurred suggested Zhou might be implicated behind the scenes. Compared with a man who smiled in public while scheming in private, Lin Yang preferred straightforward folk. Even if Zhao Tianyu hated him over Sinuo Pharmaceutical, at least Zhao was open. Zhou Zixuan felt like a waiting snake. These were only guesses, nothing more. To be sure, Lin Yang decided to use the intelligence furnace and combine reports for deeper analysis. After all, this matter affected his immediate future. He tapped the intelligence furnace function. Ding. Intelligence furnace function consumes 5,000 system experience points. Confirm usage? Confirm. Ding. Intelligence furnace activated. Please select up to 3 intelligence reports for analysis, or 3. He could combine at most 3 reports at a time. Lin Yang selected the first 3 he had just read. Ding. Intelligence selected successfully. Analysis countdown starting. 10, 9, 8. Ding. Intelligence analysis complete. For years, the Zhou and Zhao families in the capital city have been evenly matched. Neither can truly dominate the other, though both are always scheming for an edge. The anti-cancer protein market is vast and hugely profitable. Whoever controls it gains not only riches but status. The Zhou family cannot tolerate being outpaced by the Zhaos, so they plan to eliminate Zhao Tianyu, the Zhao heir, to deprive the Zhao family of a successor and secure the advantage. Lin Yang sucked in a breath. The system's conclusion made his scalp prickle. The Zhou family were actually planning to harm Zhao Tianyu to stop the Zhao's progress in the anti-cancer protein field, and the accidental crash scheduled for tomorrow would be Zhou Zixuan's doing. This was outrageous. He stood and paced the room. He had to stop it. If Zhou Zixuan's scheme worked, investigators would eventually discover that the anti-cancer protein required a rare compound extracted from the Qinghai Salt Lake, and that salt lake was currently under his control. Once that connection showed up, he could easily become the next target, disposed of as an accident after his name became inconvenient. Whether for Chen Zhengguo's sake or his own, he couldn't allow Zhou Zixuan's plan to proceed. But how to prevent it? Chen Zhengguo's influence with Zhao Tianyu was limited. He wouldn't be able to stop an attack. And Lin couldn't very well explain that an intelligence system had warned him. He needed a plan that could be executed quietly and convincingly. Then an idea struck him. If Zhou Zixuan had specifically marked Zhao Tianyu's car, why not switch cars at the last minute? Have a decoy take the vehicle Zhao was supposed to use while Zhao himself left in another car. If the other car crashed, the public would believe the system's prediction without exposing the warning. The switch had to be done at the last possible moment with absolute secrecy. No leaks, no paper trail. Satisfied, Lin Yang continued through the remaining intelligence briefings. Monthly Intelligence 4. Late on August 9th, wealthy businessman Li Chengkai will die of a sudden heart attack in room 3208 of the Crown Hotel. He leaves no will, sparking a vicious inheritance battle among his legitimate and illegitimate children. Wadodo Beverage Group stock will plunge. Those who buy in at the bottom can expect returns up to 6 times within the month. Li Chengkai was a household name, presented online as the devoted family man behind Wadodo, a leading bottled water and beverages company with annual sales in the hundreds of billions and profits in the tens of billions. Lin had seen Li's videos often, but the public image was a facade. He had 10 illegitimate children, and if they suddenly fought for the fortune, the brand's wholesome image would collapse. Lin made a note: have Hu Chan buy Wadodo shares when the price dips. Monthly Intelligence 5. Xing City's Hongjae lures men online for private video shoots, then posts the content on foreign sites for profit. She is actually a 60-year-old man in disguise. Exercise caution. Lin frowned. Hadn't he already reported a Hong Jie on South Sea Island and seen her arrested? That one had come with a 500,000 yuan reward. She couldn't have been released. This must be another person with the same alias. The content made him uneasy, an old man in stockings and a wig, but the system only pushed intelligence relevant to him. If he wasn't the one at risk, someone around him might be. He'd monitor it and decide whether a warning was needed. If it turned out to be an enemy, he wouldn't miss the chance to relish their embarrassment. Monthly Intelligence 6. Low-budget film, Financial Freedom starts with daily intelligence. Plagued by poor funding and little promotion, will become a box office dark horse and exceed 5 billion in 1 week, setting a new record. Early investors will earn huge returns. Investing in promotion before release will boost box office by over 50% and yield substantial dividends. This was the first movie-related intelligence he'd seen. A quick search showed the film was produced by Red Fruit with unknown actors, but solid performances and a compelling premise. It was scheduled for release on August 18th, 2 weeks away. Lin's mind raced. He could inject some funds into promotion now and reap handsome dividends. He flagged it as an investment opportunity. Monthly Intelligence 7. National temperatures will spike by month's end, doubling air conditioner demand. Installer shortages will send fitting fees soaring and lead times stretching. Recruit and train installers now. Offer installation at original prices and punctual service to gain enormous public goodwill. Lin smiled at the practical advice. Reputation paid. Clients and partners preferred reputable firms. Negotiations went faster. Banks granted larger credit lines. Venture valuations received premiums. When crises hit, a strong reputation bought leeway. The cost of recruiting and training installers would be modest compared to the prestige and long-term business this would generate. He messaged Huqian immediately to start arranging recruitment and service plans. He skimmed the final entries and froze when he read the next line. How is that possible? Monthly Intelligence 8. The file opened with Zhao Tianyu's history like a wound that wouldn't heal. At 8, he had watched his mother jump from a building. 3 months later, his father remarried. Outwardly, he carried himself like a natural-born ruler, arrogant, domineering, but big data analysis painted a different picture. The bravado, the aggression, were camouflage for post-traumatic stress disorder. The system flagged a more dangerous trait, a severe tendency toward emotional dependence. Once he classified someone as his benefactor, loyalty would turn pathological. Lin Yang stared at the report. He had always assumed Zhao's bluster was genuine. Now he realized it was performance, and Zhou Zixuan, the polished, innocent-looking woman everyone underestimated, looked less like a pet and more like a coiled viper. Never judge a book by its cover, he thought. The new piece of intelligence alone was useful, but when layered onto what he already knew, it became a lever. Monthly Intelligence 3 had said Zhao Tianyu would be involved in a car accident tomorrow. Lin Yang's original plan was low risk. Arrange for Zhao to switch cars at the last minute. Let the originally scheduled vehicle take the route that would be wrecked. The accident would still happen, but Zhao himself would walk away unhurt. Clean, efficient, plausible deniability. After reading the new analysis, he changed his mind. Let the accident happen as planned, he decided. Then appear at the critical moment and save Zhao. If Zhao survived because of him, if Lin Yang became his benefactor, the emotional dependence profile suggested something powerful: pathological loyalty. A man like Zhao, heir to the Zhao family in the capital, a family so vast that even Chen Zhengguo, the richest man in Qing City, was an ant by comparison, would be an invaluable asset once he owed his life to someone. The implications unfurled in Lin Yang's head. With Zhao's blind loyalty, obstacles like the sinuo-pharmaceutical conflict could be solved internally. Gaining Zhao as an ally wasn't just prestige, it was strategic leverage on an almost unimaginable scale. But the gambit required precision. Zhao had to be injured in the accident, enough to justify the rescue and trigger gratitude, but not so badly that he lost his status as the family heir. If Zhao were crippled or otherwise disqualified from succession, his value would plummet. He spent an hour running scenarios. How to ensure a moderate injury. How to choreograph the rescue so it was public enough to be noticed, but not so obvious it invited scrutiny. How to avoid implicating himself. There were too many variables, but he had a day to refine the plan. For now, he shelved the specifics and moved on to the remaining briefs. Monthly Intelligence 9. Hu Qian's assistant, Xiao Li, had been in contact with a rival company. The report flagged him as a potential mole, but noted he had not yet betrayed Hu Qian. Lin Yang hadn't expected an internal leak. He didn't know whether Hu Qian was aware. After finishing the digest, he sent her a discreet message to make sure she knew. What she did with that information was her business. Monthly Intelligence 10. Next week's World Cup qualifier between the national team and Eastern Ocean would end 0-6, the system suggested. Betting on the match could yield a profit, but the hint made the economics obvious. The outcome was essentially certain. The odds would be near even, an infinitesimal edge, so to make any meaningful return, he'd need an enormous stake. The system estimated a 50 million yuan profit, but the required bet would be around 500 million. Not worth it. When he finished the 10th brief, a little confirmation ding chimed as the system tallied experience. 10 pieces of intelligence granted 10,000 XP. The intelligence furnace had taken its cut, 5,000 XP, leaving him with a net gain of 5,000. He pulled up the system panel. Monthly intelligence system, 26,000, 30,000. 4,000 experience points to go. Once he reached 30,000, the system would upgrade him to the annual intelligence system. That transition would reduce the number of tips, 3 to 10 pieces a year instead of monthly updates, but each piece would be exponentially more valuable, at least 10 times the worth of a single monthly tip. Less quantity, far more quality. More profit with less grind. More time to enjoy life, he reminded himself. Money was meant to be spent. Hoarding it was pointless. He closed the panel and went back to the Zhao problem. The plan had to accomplish 3 things. Ensure Zhao wasn't so severely injured that he lost his position. Stage a dramatic, credible rescue so Lin Yang would be seen as the savior, and lock in Zhao's gratitude so it became dependence. He would think through the logistics tonight, source the right vehicle, arrange eyewitnesses, and line up a plausible escape route. Tomorrow, the accident would happen. He just had to make sure Zhao walked away with a debt he could never forget. Lin Yang tapped his fingers on the table, running through tomorrow's plan in his head. Zhao Tianyu's car accident, he murmured, a glint flashing in his eyes. The system had given him the information. Tomorrow, Zhao Tianyu's car would crash. It wouldn't kill him, but it would leave him with severe injuries to his lower body and permanently rob him of his fertility. Zhou Zixuan, you really have a knack for schemes. He sneered inwardly. He wouldn't dare to outright murder young Master Zhao, but this, staging an accident, was sneaky and perfect. Even better, he could tail Zhao Tianyu's car and intervene right after the crash, play the hero, and make himself indispensable. A man who owed him everything would be easy to control. Lin Yang picked up his phone and called Hu Qian. Mr. Lin. Hu Qian's voice was brisk on the other end. 2 things, Lin Yang said, getting straight to the point. First, starting August 9th, buy as many Wadodo shares as you can. Second, set up a home appliance installation company immediately. Hiring standards, honesty, and hands-on skill only. Understood. Do you have a name for it? Hu Qian asked, a little puzzled at the sudden business idea, but accustomed to not questioning Lin Yang's instincts. Call it Lightning Home Delivery, Lin Yang said casually. All installers must go through rigorous training. Service standards must exceed the industry average. After he hung up, Lin Yang returned to planning the rescue. This was a risky operation. Timing and placement had to be perfect. He opened his laptop, pulled up the satellite map of Sing City Avenue, and studied every detail. Where the crash would happen, the time of day, nearby exits and shops. He had to be careful. Can't show up too early, or it'll look staged. Can't be late, or Zhao Tianyu will be crippled for real. He thought, tracing a route with his finger. Wait in a nearby cafe half an hour early. Get to the scene within 3 minutes after the accident. His phone buzzed with a message from Shikong. Yange, I have a girlfriend. I'm throwing a dinner at the Wyndham Hotel tonight. Bring your girlfriend and any classmates in Xing City. You must come. Lin Yang raised an eyebrow. Shikong could be a snob, but he had helped Lin at crucial moments. Whatever his motives, he had been useful, so Lin would give him this courtesy. Send the address. I'll be there, he replied. At 6, Lin Yang drove his U8 into the Wyndham Hotel parking lot. Chen Qingqing sat in the passenger seat in a light blue dress, fresh and elegant. I heard Shikong has a girlfriend, she asked, curious. I wonder what she's like. Shikong has good conditions. Ordinary girls usually don't qualify, Lin Yang said with a faint smile. You'll see. They entered the hotel lobby, and a waiter led them to a private room. The noisy chatter inside fell for a beat, then erupted into warm greetings. Yang Ge is here. President Lin, our great entrepreneur, has finally arrived. Lin Yang scanned the room. Besides the local classmates, a few unfamiliar faces from out of town had flown in. A classmate from Yangcheng stood up, beaming. Yang Ge, I heard you were coming. I flew over just for this. Yes, yes, others chimed in. Lin Yang read the room. Ever since he'd found success, distant classmates had suddenly become enthusiastic. He nodded with practiced calm. Hello, everyone. Long time no see. Shikong pushed through the crowd, grinning. Yang Ge, Ching Ching, finally, we've been waiting. Lin noticed there was no woman beside Shikong and asked casually, Where's your girlfriend? You said you'd bring her. Shikong went awkwardly red. Xiaohong's a bit socially anxious. She gets nervous in big groups. I worked on her, though. She said she'd come later. Chen Qingqing smiled sympathetically. It's normal to be nervous meeting so many strangers for the first time. They all took their seats. The private room came alive again, waiters bringing a parade of signature Wyndham dishes. Clearly, Shikong had spent a lot. Yang Ge, I heard your company may be small, but profit margins beat many with billions in turnover, a classmate said admiringly. Lin Yang waved it off. Small operation. Small. Come on, Yang Ge, you're too modest, another said. Let's toast. You'll be taking care of us in the future, right? Glasses clinked. Lin handled the flattery with ease, but his eyes kept flicking to his watch, still plotting the rescue. As the meal went on, Shikong's girlfriend still hadn't appeared. Under pressure, Shikong took out his phone and dialed. His voice on the speaker was suddenly soft and coaxing, which made a few classmates snicker. A sharp female voice answered, and the speakerphone carried it to the whole table. Oh, I've sprained my ankle on the way. I might not make it today. Shikong froze. What? But you said you'd already left. Did I? No. Actually, there was a small car accident, and I got delayed. The excuses changed too fast. The classmates exchanged looks. Sweat appeared on Shikong's forehead. On speaker, the woman changed her story again. I'm working overtime. My boss gave me a task at the last minute. I really can't get away. The private room grew quiet. Something didn't add up. One classmate prodded, Shikong, how did you meet her anyway? Sheepish, Shikong lowered his eyes. We met online, chatted a lot, met a few times. She's exactly what I want. She's my dream girl. That only made everyone more curious. Lin Yang's expression went colder. He remembered the news the system had sent him that morning. The police were investigating an online scam ring led by a 60-year-old man named Hong Jie, who cross-dressed to defraud men. His MO was to arrange meetings near what he passed off as her home. Shikong, Lin Yang said, lowering his wine glass, the tone in his voice heavier than before. Have you transferred money to this Xiaohong? Shikong paled slightly. Yang, how did you know? She said she needed rent, so I lent her 20,000. The room erupted in jeers. You didn't fall for a scam, did you? Someone laughed. Meeting online, meeting at night, borrowing money, this is textbook pig butchering. Lin Yang didn't call him out directly. He watched Shikong with a look that carried meaning. The crowd piled on. Yang Ge, you're saying this because Ching Ching's here, right? We didn't expect you to be such a clingy boyfriend, another mocked. Chen Qingqing's cheeks warmed. She glanced at Lin Yang, who only smiled without explaining. Shikong knew Lin's reputation. He rose fast and always seemed to avoid traps. If Lin warned him, there had to be a reason. I'll be careful, Shikong stammered, fingers twisting his napkin. At that moment, one classmate shouted and held up his phone. Guys, look at this news. Everyone leaned in. The phone showed a trending article. 60-year-old man cross-dresses to scam, dated 6,000 men, profited millions. The photo in the story showed a heavily made-up woman in a wig and mask, only a pair of exaggerated eyes visible. With the mask on, she actually looks like an atmosphere beauty, someone said, half laughing. If you kissed her and found out she had stubble, another joked, and the room burst into laughter. No one noticed the color draining from Shikong's face. His chopstick slipped from his fingers and clattered to the floor. Lin Yang looked at him and felt a quiet certainty settle in. Inside the private room, every eye was on Shikong. Shikong, your girlfriend couldn't possibly be, one classmate began, his voice trailing off in shock. Before he could finish, another cut in, incredulous. Come on, Section Chief Shi, someone as impressive as him, falling for someone like that? Shikong's face went ashen. Cold sweat rolled down his temple. He trembled, then, with effort, said, It was her. But we never actually met. I only lost a little money to a scam. The room erupted. Some voiced sympathy, others stifled laughter, and several pulled out their phones to search for news. Then someone shouted, Holy crap, Videos have already leaked online. They crowded around the screen. The footage showed the so-called Hong Jie, a man in his 60s, heavily made up, wearing a wig and a mask, posing as a woman and dating various netizens. Victims appeared one after another. The Four Seasons brother, always wearing the same plaid shirt while dutifully delivering milk, a muscular fitness coach being conned into buying protein powder, a college student shyly handing over money earned from a part-time job to buy a watermelon. People gaped and jabbered. This old man's range is insane. If that fitness coach knew he'd been kissing an old man, he'd lose it. Then the video cut to a familiar face. "No way, that's Zhao Yu," someone yelled. The private room exploded with laughter and ridicule. "Zhao Yu? He's always bragging about his job and how envied he is. Turns out, he even posted a watch his girlfriend gave him on his moments. Maybe that old man gave it to him too." They laughed uproariously. Shi Kong, listening, felt a wave of private relief. He hadn't actually met Little Hong, otherwise he might be the one shown in the video. If his superiors had seen it, he might have even lost his section chief position. That night after the party, Lin Yang went home and his phone rang. It was Chen Zhengguo. "Lin Yang," Chen said, voice layered with surprise and something unreadable. "I didn't expect the owner of that mutated turtle-back bamboo to be you. Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu want to see you. Are you willing to meet to discuss selling it?" Lin Yang's lips curled into a small smile, exactly what he wanted. If he didn't meet them tomorrow, Zhou Zixuan and Zhao Tianyu wouldn't leave the hotel. That staged car accident wouldn't happen, and he wouldn't become Zhao Tianyu's supposed savior. "Yes," he replied coolly. "Tell them I'll meet." The next morning, Lin Yang drove to the Wyndham Hotel early, parked at the entrance, and waited. Not long after, a black Maybach with green license plates, Zhao Tianyu's car, eased out. Lin Yang started his engine and tailed it at a distance. Then, without warning, an off-road vehicle careened out from the side and slammed into the Maybach at full speed. The impact was deafening. The Maybach spun, tumbled twice, its body buckling, windows shattering. The front was crushed, black smoke pouring from the engine bay. Airbags deployed everywhere. The driver was bloody, but able to move. Zhao Tianyu, however, was pinned in the back. His lower body was trapped between a twisted door and the seat. "Help! Save me!" he screamed. Bystanders rushed over and hauled the driver out, but they couldn't free Zhao Tianyu. "Pull again!" someone shouted. Then, beneath the car, the battery started to spark. A split second later, there was a boom and flames leapt up. "The battery's on fire! Back away!" people shouted, scattering. Zhao Tianyu watched the flames crawl closer and felt sheer panic. "Whoever saves me, I'll give you 1 million. No, 5 million, he screamed, voice breaking. No one moved. Everyone knew the stories. An exploding electric vehicle battery could make a person ash in seconds. The fire moved fast. The heat hit him. He closed his eyes, despair swallowing him. "It's over," he whispered. Then, with a sudden crash, a young man barreled through the crowd toward the car. Through the haze of smoke and light, Zhao Tianyu squinted. The man looked familiar, but Zhao couldn't place him. "Stop talking," the young man said coldly. "I'll get you out." "Please, anything. I'll pay." Zhao Tianyu begged. The man ignored him and assessed the wreck. The door frame was crushing Zhao Tianyu's legs. He braced himself, gripped the door, and hauled. There was a cracking sound as the whole door tore free. Zhao Tianyu's eyes went wide. How could someone be that strong? Lin Yang barely registered his own surprise either. After cultivating the Taoist guiding art, his strength was far beyond ordinary. There was no time to marvel. Flames were licking under the seat. With a final heave, Lin Yang grabbed Zhao Tianyu and dragged him clear. The car erupted behind them. Zhao Tianyu collapsed on the pavement, shaking, staring at the burning wreck. One more breathless second, and he would have been alive only in memory. He looked up at Lin Yang with eyes full of shock and gratitude. The man had saved his life. Lin Yang drove him to the hospital and got him admitted. After the examinations, the doctor was grave. "You were rescued just in time," the doctor said. "If it had been another minute, the combination of heat and compression would have caused irreversible necrosis. You could have lost function in your lower body, and you'd never be able to have children." Zhao Tianyu sucked in a breath, the debt he felt to Lin Yang multiplying. When Lin Yang came into the ward, Zhao Tianyu sat up, frantic. Benefactor, name your price. Money, resources, anything. Tell me and I won't refuse. Lin Yang gave a faint smile. No need, it was a small favor. Zhao Tianyu wasn't satisfied. No, tell me your name so I can repay you properly. Lin Yang, he said. Lin Yang? Zhao Tianyu repeated, stunned. His eyes widened. Yangshu capital. Are you from Yangsu? Lin Yang nodded. Zhao Tianyu was speechless. The name hit him like a blow. Not long ago, his company, Sinuo Pharmaceutical, had been hit hard because of Lin Yang. The stock plummeted, and Sinuo suffered major losses. Before the crash, he would have hated Lin Yang. Now, everything had flipped. He had been saved from death by the same man. Hatred dissolved into overwhelming gratitude. He would give anything. Even if Lin Yang demanded his life, he would hand it over without hesitation. Lin Yang watched Zhao Tianyu's grateful face and felt a cool satisfaction. The plan had succeeded. Zhou Zixuan stood at the hotel entrance with a trace of triumph in his eyes. He had refused the car Chen Zhengguo had offered and insisted on going to Binjiang Bay alone. To him, this was the first move in taking control of the situation. Today he intended not only to acquire that coveted mutated turtleback bamboo, but also to strip Zhao Tianyu of his influence over the group. Half an hour later, Zhou's car rolled into Binjiang Bay. He parked in a quiet corner and waited. Time dragged. An hour passed, and still there was no sign of Zhao Tianyu's car. He checked his watch and smiled inwardly. The plan had worked. He pictured Zhao Tianyu caught in some catastrophic accident, unable to make the meeting. In that case, the mutated turtleback bamboo would fall into his hands, and Sinuo Pharmaceutical would be next on his acquisition list. Zhou took out his phone, ready to call Chen and push for an immediate meeting with the bamboo's owner. Just then, a black U8 eased into the community's underground parking lot. Zhou's heart skipped. An inexplicable unease tightened in his chest, a sudden, wrong premonition. He swallowed it and dialed Chen. Chen arrived moments later, smiling brightly, and personally led Zhou down to the garage. By coincidence, Zhou's car ended up parked right beside the U8. Mr. Chen, whose U8 is that? It looks impressive, Zhou said casually, eyes fixed on the car. Lin Yang's, Chen answered quickly. The Mr. Lin who had dinner with us last time. Don't underestimate him. He's the owner of the mutated turtleback bamboo we're here to see. What, Lin Yang? Zhao's smile froze. Anger flared hot and bitter. He'd thought the quiet young man at the dinner table was insignificant. He never imagined Lin was the bamboo's owner. What outraged Zhou most was that Lin hadn't said a word about it at dinner. It felt like a deliberate slight. He ground his teeth. Once he had the bamboo, he would make Lin pay. Chen noticed Zhou's change in mood and hurried to smooth things over. Mr. Zhou, don't overthink it. Mr. Lin is low-key. Maybe he didn't think the time was right then. But you'll see the mutated turtleback bamboo today. Our cooperation will succeed. Zhou snorted but said nothing. He followed Chen into the elevator and forced himself to focus. The important thing was getting the bamboo. Everything else could wait. Chen led them to Lin Yang's door and rang. The door opened, and Lin stood there with a faint smile. Behind him, to Zhou's shock, stood Zhao Tianyu, unharmed and perfectly alive. Zhao Tianyu? How are you here? Weren't you? Zhou began, his voice trailing off. He had pictured Zhao in a hospital emergency room, maybe fighting for his life. To see him healthy and smiling knocked the breath from Zhao's chest. Zhao didn't seem to notice Zhou's stunned stare. He stepped forward, slung an arm around Lin Yang's shoulder, and greeted Zhou as if nothing had happened. Zixuan, you're finally here. Were you delayed? I only just got here, too, thanks to Yang Ge. Without him, I might have been done for on the road. He turned to Lin with near adoration in his voice, a softness that verged on theatrical. Yang Ge, if it weren't for you, I'd be ruined today. From now on, you're my benefactor. Just say the word, and I, Zhao Tianyu, will go through fire and water for you. His expression and tone made it clear that Lin was his whole world. His loyalty looked almost pathological. Zhou's eyes widened. This was the arrogant, imperious young master he knew, someone who usually scarcely glanced at others. Yet here he was, groveling to a seemingly lesser man, calling him Yang Ge, with a warmth and familiarity that bordered on worship. What is going on? Zhao muttered, his gaze flitting between Zhao and Lin, searching for an explanation. His mind swirled with confusion and disbelief. Chen was equally stunned, mouth open, rubbing his eyes as if to wake himself from a dream. A young master from a prestigious Beijing family taking orders from an unknown youth. It made no sense. They all sat. Lin lounged on the sofa, and his eyes swept casually over the fruit plate on the coffee table. At that glance, Zhao sprang up as if wound tight and offered himself in service. Yenge, do you want an orange? I'll peel it for you right away. He grabbed an orange and began peeling it with exaggerated care. When he handed the perfectly peeled fruit to Lin, his face shone with eager anticipation. Yenge, please try it. If it's not good, I'll peel another one for you. Every look from Lin, every small gesture, seemed to command immediate and unquestioning obedience from Zhao. Zhou and Chen stared dumbfounded. Was this really the same proud young master of a well-known Beijing family? The air in Lin Yang's living room was thick with tension. Lin Yang sat back on the sofa, casually peeling and eating an orange as if none of the arguments around him concerned him. Beside him, Zhao Tianyu planted himself like a loyal sentinel, eyes full of reverence and dependence, the kind of look that made it clear Lin Yang was the center of his universe and that he would move at a word. On the other side, Zhao Zixuan brooded, his face so dark it seemed to drip. His eyes flicked toward Lin Yang from time to time, hatred simmering just behind his stare. He still couldn't accept that everything he'd carefully arranged had been wrecked by this sudden intruder. If not for Lin Yang, Zhou thought, Sinuo Pharmaceutical would have long been his. His plan would have succeeded. Instead, everything had burst like a bubble, and Lin Yang had become Zhao Tanyu's savior, winning the younger man's almost pathological loyalty. That only deepened Zhou Zichuan's jealousy and fury. Chen Zhengguo stood awkwardly nearby, switching glances between the three of them, unsure how to break the mounting unease. He knew none of them were ordinary, and that this meeting could explode at any moment. The silence finally snapped when Zhou Zichuan scoffed. Lin Yang, we're here for that variegated monstera. Sell it to me, and I'll introduce you to Xianzhen Garden. The connections there are what people dream about, exactly the kind of help your business will need. Zhao Tianyu bristled at once, glaring at Zhou. Yang Jie, he said loudly, even if you won't sell it to me, I'll still put you into Xianzhen Garden. I'll tell everyone you're my benefactor. Anyone who opposes you opposes the Zhao family. He thumped his chest as he spoke, all swagger and entitlement. Zhao's jaw clenched. His anger flared hotter. He tossed the next offer like a gauntlet. Besides the Xianzhen introduction, he said, I can give you a business card from our Zhou family head. If you ever run into trouble, one call and anyone in the Zhou family, from top to bottom, will help. He produced a golden business card and set it on the coffee table with a small show of pride. Zhao gave a short, disdainful laugh. What's your family head's card worth? He sneered. So long as Yang Ge needs me, I'm on call, no matter what it takes. The two men began trading barbed lines, neither willing to yield. Chen watched their faces go red and pale in turns, his hands clenching until small beads of sweat prickled his brow. He tried to keep his hope private. Don't let this get me or Lin Yang caught in the crossfire. Zhou, stung by Zhao's challenge, doubled down. Fine, he said suddenly. I'll raise the stakes. I'll offer 500 million for the monstera. The number dropped into the room like a bomb. For a stunned moment, nobody moved. Chen's eyes went wide. His teacup slipped from his fingers and crashed to the floor, splintering into fragments he barely registered. The single thought that ran through his head was absurdly simple. A plant for 500 million? This is crazy. Zhao's expression flickered between shock and calculation. He hesitated for only a breath before restoring his bluster. Humph, he scoffed. No matter how much you throw at it, what's mine is Yang Ge's, and what's Yang Jie's stays Yang Jie's. Yang Jie can even take my life if he needs it. Throughout, Lin Yang remained unnervingly calm. He narrowed his eyes a fraction and smiled mildly, as if he'd expected this. He picked up the teacup Chen had dropped, unfazed, took a measured sip, and said in a steady voice, Don't rush. I have my own plans for this variegated monstera. His tone made it clear he wasn't impressed by 500 million. He waved a hand to silence the two rivals, letting his gaze travel over their faces before settling on Zhao. The corners of his mouth lifted. I've decided, he said. I'm giving the variegated monstera to Tianyu. The room erupted. Zhao's eyes went wide. For a moment he seemed unable to believe his ears. Then joy flooded him like a tidal wave. He bolted to his feet, stumbling across the room to Lin Yang, grabbing his arms as if to make sure the man hadn't changed his mind. When Lin Yang nodded, Zhao could barely contain himself. He scooped Lin Yang up and spun him around the living room, shouting at the top of his lungs. I knew Yang Ge was the best to me. Yang Ge, you're my second parents. My life is yours from now on. His voice shook with giddy elation. The arrogant veneer of the privileged young master fell away. He was a child again, thrilled with a dream come true. Zhou Zixuan, by contrast, went pale as the blood drained from his face. His eyes burned like coals. He clenched his fists so tight the veins popped, and his fingernails dug into his palms until streaks of blood marked them. He didn't even notice. Lin Yang's choice was an open humiliation, a slap in the face. He had never imagined the man he'd tried to buy off would give the prize to his rival instead. The living room remained charged, the smells of orange peel and overturned tea mingling with the scent of raw, exposed jealousy and fierce, loyal devotion. Lin Yang, don't you dare regret this. You'll pay for today's choice sooner or later. Zhou Zichuan grit his teeth. His face was as cold as a midwinter gust, full of barely contained malice. He shot a last furious look at Lin Yang, glanced at the cheering Zhao Tianyu, then turned to leave. Zhou Zichuan, stop right there. Hearing those words, Zhao Tianyu froze, carefully set Lin Yang down, and faced Zhou with a furious expression. What was that look just now? How dare you threaten Yang Ge? Threaten him and you're threatening me. If you do anything over the line, I won't let you get away with it. He took 2 steps forward, radiating a dangerous intensity, ready to come to blows if Zhou said another word. Humph. Zhou's composure cracked. Anger leapt to the surface. Yang Ge, don't worry. He won't dare touch you. If he does, I'll fight him to the death. Lin Yang watched Zhao Tianyu's fierce loyalty with a private smile. The turn of events still struck him as absurdly lucky. The two of them had been on opposite sides over Sinuo Pharmaceutical. Zhao had even phoned threats at one point. And then, because Lin Yang had acted, Zhao had become overly grateful, almost pathologically devoted. As the realization sank in, Zhao Tianyu's expression shifted. He could not accept such a precious gift for nothing. The variegated monstera Lin Yang had given him was no ordinary plant. The starry tears variegata was exceptionally rare and beautiful, practically priceless. With it, Zhao's status in Xianzhen Garden could eclipse Zhou Zixuan's. After 10 years of being suppressed, he might finally overtake him. Rare plants like this didn't appear for a century. An unmistakable resolve flashed in Zhao's eyes. He took out his phone and called his assistant. Soon the assistant arrived at Lin Yang's home and handed a document to Zhao Tianyu. Zhao trembled as he took it, then presented it to Lin Yang with both hands. Yang Ge, I can never repay what you've done for me, he said, voice shaking. This is the transfer agreement for 30% of Sinuo Pharmaceutical. I'm giving it to you. From now on, Yang Ge, you'll be the largest shareholder of Sinuo Pharmaceutical. His voice was thick with excitement. He stared at Lin Yang as if waiting for him to accept a life-changing gift. Lin Yang was taken aback. 30% of Sinuo Pharmaceutical was substantial, enough to give him real influence. He hesitated. Could Zhao unilaterally give away that much? If the transfer caused legal or familial trouble, the cost might outweigh the benefit. Tianyu, this is too much. I can't. Before he could finish, Zhao interrupted. If you don't accept this, you're looking down on me, Zhao Tianyu. You saved my life. I gave you the variegated monstera. You must accept these shares. Seeing Lin Yang's hesitation, he hurried on, earnest and urgent. Don't worry. Sinuo Pharmaceutical is my company. I hold 51%. I'm giving you 30%, which will make you the largest shareholder. From now on, I'll follow your lead. He pressed the transfer agreement into Lin Yang's hands, eyes earnest. Lin Yang met that determination and knew that refusing would wound Zhao's pride. He sighed softly, took the document and smiled. All right, I'll accept it. Relief and joy lit Zhao Tianyu's face. Good, Yang Ge. From now on, Sinuo Pharmaceutical will rely on you. Zhou Zixuan, standing to one side, watched with increasing gloom as everything he had schemed for slipped away. His fists tightened until the veins stood out on the backs of his hands. Bitter jealousy and humiliation surged through him. He had worked to obtain those shares, yet Zhao had handed them to Lin Yang with ease. He had been completely shut out. Lin Yang, Don't get cocky. I'll settle this with you, sooner or later. He spat the words and stalked out, his long figure streaked by the setting sun, looking more lonely and defeated than threatening. Lin Yang let a faint, imperceptible smile curve his lips as Zhao left. He knew the grudge between them was now sealed, but he wasn't worried. He had Zhao Tianyu's loyalty at his back. The room settled into an awkward, heavy silence. Zhao grabbed Lin Yang's arm, effusive with gratitude, eyes full of admiration and dependence. Lin Yang smiled and nodded as he listened, but his thoughts had already shifted to plans for the future. Chen Zhengguo hovered at the edge of the scene, an uneasy smile tugging at his mouth. I didn't expect this to blow up like this, he said quietly. He understood the consequences. Lin Yang and Zhou Zixuan were likely to become lifelong enemies, and peace would be hard to come by. Lin Yang waved it off calmly. President Chen, it's nothing. Small matters, no need to worry. His steady tone made Chen look at him with even more respect. Zhao, still brimming with bravado, added, Chen Zhengguo, don't worry. With me around, no one will dare touch Yang Yi. If Zhou Zixuan acts up, I'll make him pay. He thumped his chest and flexed his fists, every inch the overconfident young protector. Lin Yang glanced at him, a hint of helplessness passing through his eyes. Zhao's loyalty was real, but he was young and impulsive, likely to cause trouble in the future. Right then, Zhao's phone rang. He answered, and his face darkened. Turning to Lin Yang, he said, Yang Ge, I've got things to handle in the capital. I'm heading back now. When you have time, come to the capital and officially join Shanzhen Garden. All right, take care of your business. After sending Zhao and Chen Zhengguo off, Lin Yang stepped outside. He planned to visit Chen Qingqing across the street. As soon as he was out the door, his phone rang again. His mother. She told him that First Aunt's cousin had just been admitted to Tsinghua University, and the family was holding a celebration banquet. She wanted him to come home. Lin Yang listened, then agreed. He paused for a moment, looking at the evening sky, and felt the strange tilt of his life. Enemies made, alliances forged, and the slow, inexorable rearrangement of everything around him. Then he headed off toward the celebration, already mapping the next moves in his head.